Well, it's been quite a year for movies here for for Adam,
And Steve.
and Show. We are Adam Steve Show, and we talk about movies and stuff, and we're here to talk about so many awesome, cool winter releases. Steve, which one would you like to talk about first?
Well, since I made this my background right here, I'm a big wrestling guy, and I actually just saw Iron Claw just a few days ago, actually, and I really enjoyed it. It's a movie I've been waiting for a while. I'm pretty familiar with the story. I obviously didn't grow up in the 80s when the Von Erich family was really huge in wrestling. Like, even though they were just in Texas, they were like worldwide known. Like some of them went to Japan and everything like that. So this is like one of the biggest families in wrestling history, but unfortunately, they were also plagued with a very just horrible tragedies in their whole family. And it's a very sad story while also being a very like entertaining and good story about this family who wanted to stick together and had this dream of being this wrestling family. And unfortunately, a father who wasn't the best guy, but you kind of feel like he wanted the best for his kids, but didn't really know how to do it that well. So it's a complicated story, but I thought it was done very well.
Yeah, it's definitely one that's very heavy. A lot of people coming out of that theater very upset. I am going to play hater here. I think it's good. Like I give it a 3 out of 5. It's probably closer to a 4 than it is a 2, but I could not find myself getting as emotionally invested as this movie wanted me to, because it was like watching a line of people like jump off, like the front of the line jumps off the cliff, and then they just waddle forward a little bit, and then the next guy jumps off a cliff. And it's like, just stop wrestling. Like, it's clearly
Yeah.
not work. I mean, not all of the tragedies that happen in the movies because of wrestling, but it doesn't really seem like this is a formula that is really working. So just get out, you know?
Yeah, it's just one of those things that when you have the thing that you love, and unfortunately it was because the kids grew up only around their dad being a wrestler, wrestling
Mm-hmm.
was kind of all they knew. And when they didn't have wrestling anymore, they felt like they didn't have anything. So it was also it's just sad in that is that they had kind of no support system outside of if you're gonna be a wrestler, then awesome. But if not, then fuck off is almost kind of what the dad was like. So yeah, it is a very sad movie. I watched it with my dad, and my dad was near tears a few times. I could tell because he's honestly closer to the age demographic and everything of when he grew up and everything. So he was familiar with some of the Von Erich stuff, and yeah, it was definitely for wrestling audiences that were familiar with them. But I feel like it was accessible enough that it's just a good like family drama in a way too.
Mm-hmm. I was hoping, because I didn't know anything about it going into it, and I was told it's like about a father who has his grips into his entire family, and thought there was going to be more focus on that. Like I see it there, but I thought there was going to be, I don't know, I just thought that was going to be a little bit more developed. Like the dad was a jerk. I don't really feel bad for the dad though. Like I know a lot of people were saying that after the movie, they were like, "Oh, he's such like I pity him." And I don't really like pity him. Like I don't know, he's just a jerk.
Well,
And
yeah,
like Zac
even
Efron's great in the movie. He's fantastic.
yeah, and who Zac Efron played is the only surviving brother, Kevin Von Erich, and he was heavily involved in making the movie still. And he honestly even tells the story still too that he loves his dad, but his dad was not the perfect person. Like even at one point, they didn't show it in the movie, which was kind of unfortunate because if you were looking for more of that, there was more to the story of the dad. Like he ended up getting dementia later in life and ended up pulling a gun on Kevin and saying like he was the weakest son because he couldn't kill himself and different things like that. So the story got even heavier after the fact, but yeah, it's a very sad story, but yeah, Zac Efron fucking he got jacked for that role too because they're all very like huge muscular Texas
Mhm.
boys and the man was fucking cut up. And I'm honestly Jeremy Allen White was really good too. I'm not like extremely familiar with him. Like I watched a little bit of the Shameless show, but haven't seen that Bear show that everyone loves him in, but the rest of the cast I really liked too. I wasn't familiar with a bunch of people, but the coolest part about this movie for me too was being a wrestling guy. I actually know the guy who trained all of them to wrestle, and he actually even said straight up that they all of the wrestling stuff, it wasn't like stunt performers, it was all the actors doing it. So I thought that was really cool too, that they were committed to learning the sport of pro wrestling and knowing that it's not just like the fake stuff that you really think about. Like it's predetermined, but putting your body through a lot of that shit is tough.
Yeah, it was cool, like how they were in sync. You know, like there's the one shot where they all go and hit the guy at the same
Hmm.
time, or their own respective guy at the same time, and they're really in sync. You brought up earlier how it is based on a true story, and the people the story is about are like alive. Well, one of the guys is alive, and they were heavily involved. And I came out of the movie thinking, oh, the movie is worse off for that because like I'm watching it thinking, oh, the entire movie, I'm like, I'm ready for this scene, this beautiful scene to happen, which it's gonna make me love this movie. The dad is going to be sitting down with Zac Efron, and Zac Efron, who just had kids, and he's got the wife and everything. The kids are, they're watching TV. I thought it was gonna be that exact scene in the movie, and the dad was gonna say, "So when you getting them? Like, when are they gonna start wrestling?" And I just wanted to see like the horror and Zac Efron's face of like, dude, I've just watched like the negative impacts that this sport has had on my entire like family, and you want me to continue the cycle, like, but that's not the direction they wanted to go, and they wanted to show like how obviously how tragic the story is, but like how important wrestling and how much they love wrestling and show wrestling in a positive light. Whereas I was hoping for something more like The Wrestler. Do you ever see the
Yeah.
Mickey Rourke one?
Oh, it's one of my favorite movies ever. But unfortunately,
Exactly.
why they didn't go in that direction is because in real life, the Von Erich boys are actually wrestling now. Like the sons are pro wrestlers too. They wrestle together, but honestly, it's nowhere near where it was. Like Kevin's not that guy like his dad was, so I'm not too worried about those boys. But yeah, that's why they couldn't go in that direction because those boys are actually pro wrestlers now.
Yeah, I didn't even know anything about like I didn't know this was all a true story or anything. So I mean, I think it's well made. It looks nice. The performances are really good. Especially, I had someone stand up after the press screening and was like, "Oh, Zac Efron should be nominated," and I was like, like it's a pretty stacked year, and I don't really think
Yeah,
so." And then it's perfectly lining up with him getting the Walk of Fame. What is it? The star on Hollywood.
yeah,
So it's really nice timing for this movie, but I don't think it's doing too well at the box office. It's an A24 movie too, right?
it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd
what a
I'd
strange
love
movie
to
for them to
see
do.
it get any award attention because I really enjoyed it. It's a 5 out of 5 for me, but I don't see that really sneaking in. I mean, the performances were really good, but none of them really stand out because yeah, you were like you were saying, this is a stacked year already. If Zac Efron snuck in there, I think it would just be more of like a nice honor thing, but I don't
Mhm.
think he really has a chance at really any award winning this year.
Mhm. Yeah, and I do just want to establish because I am not a fan of wrestling. Like, I love we have both perspectives here because like you are obviously a very big fan of wrestling. I can't stand it. So if you like wrestling, you're really gonna enjoy this movie. If you don't like wrestling, you're gonna be like, "That's stupid. Stop." I just it's so annoying in every wrestling movie. They're like, "Oh." Someone goes, "Oh, you think like what you guys do is fake? Aren't you guys just like dancing? It's all choreographed." And they're like, "Oh, you think what we do is fake? But we actually get roughed up around out there." But then they'll like cut to a scene where they're like, "Okay, so you're gonna do this move, and then I'm gonna do this move, and then you're," and it's like, well, we all know what's gonna happen. There's no
I
like,
mean, you do know what's gonna
oh, who's
happen,
gonna
but I'm
win?
talking about like you're putting your body on the line for a lot of different shit. Like just knowing that someone's gonna jump off at you, you have to be ready for that kind of shit, as well as you have to like safely get that guy to the ground too. Like it's all a teamwork thing in wrestling. Like it's not necessarily a competition, but it's a show, just like watching a movie is a show. It's
Mhm.
predetermined. They're honestly doing three jobs at once because they're a stunt performer, they're an actor, they're doing like a bunch of different shit while still trying to make it look believable while they know that how it's going to end and everything. But and especially when they're doing like the different ladders and different things like that, like you can't really fake jumping off a ladder at someone and different things like that.
No, I understand that the physicality aspect of it is very real, and these people are getting very hurt. This movie is very clear that you can get very hurt by wrestling. I just mean that, can you sports bet on wrestling? Like, can you bet on someone to win or whatever?
They have like certain things about it now. I mean, it used to never really be, but I think you can a little bit. Like it's on, they advertise DraftKings on it all the time now too, but I'm not really sure how it works.
I was about to say because if we know what's going to happen, like I mean, I don't know. There's something to be said about people who believe like the NFL is rigged and like the NBA and MLB is all rigged,
Dude,
but
There was one, my brother actually told me a story once where he was watching like UFC with this guy's grandpa, and he thought that the UFC was fake and that WWE was real. So there are a lot of people out there that still think that pro wrestling like is a reality thing. And back in the 80s when they were portraying it in this movie, there's a thing called kayfabe where they literally like you're not supposed to break that wall to the audience. Like if you're a bad guy and you go out to the fucking parking lot and someone's out there asking for an autograph, you're not allowed to sign autographs. You're supposed to be a dick outside too. Like you were
Mm.
supposed to stick to that so they would believe that
Oh, a
that is
heel,
you.
right?
Yeah. So like, and if you were a good guy, you were supposed to act like a good guy, do autographs, talk to all the kids, and do that 24/7. Like you could not be a dick because your job is a pro wrestling and that is your character 24/7. And that's how they used to be back then. It's not like that anymore, but it used to be really crazy back then, especially because it wasn't just the WWE back because they talk about it a little bit how there are territories. And that's
Hmm.
what the whole United States used to be. It was like there was a Florida territory, there was like a Midwest territory, and they would like sometimes you would go to different places, but then Vince McMahon, being the dickhead that he was, took all the best people from each territory and made the WWF and basically
Oh,
choked
okay.
out the rest of those territories and became not a thing anymore.
Wow. So it's one of those where, like, by trying to build it up, you actually destroyed it, or not destroyed, but like.
He did what every like what kind of like America does, where they just try to take everything good and make it their own from all their
Hmm.
countries, kind of like England did too.
Hmm. Yeah, but with this movie, I don't know. It's very good. I'm happy people are liking it. I am the lowest of all of my mutuals on Letterboxd. I even had a buddy who called me to talk about like just other stuff, and we talked about the movie. And I was like, "Thank you, by the way, for giving it 3 stars." And he's like, "You got to remember, I give it out of 4. So like a 3 isn't necessarily like a 60%. It's more of like a 75." And I'm like, "Whatever, man. It's fine." But I can't see myself rewatching this ever. Oh, the soundtrack is good as well. Don't they have a nice
Yes.
little needle drop in the movie that everyone's talking about?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of different like soundtrack moments and different things like that, especially because it took place in the 80s, so it has that 80s rock that people love so much. But I mean, even that, along with like the cinematography, how they shot like the certain events to make it look more like the 80s time period and stuff, like there's a lot of cool things. And I mean, the haircuts, while people were making fun of them on social media quite a bit, they are quite accurate to how these dudes actually walked around back then. So
Mm,
all of it was very accurate to all of that too. So there was a lot of love put into this as well. So, like he said, if you're a big wrestling fan, I think you'll get a kick out of this too. And I mean, some people like my dad's not the biggest wrestling fan, especially now, but I mean, people that just like movies, I think like they might not love it as much, but there's a really good story here. Like if you're not familiar with it.
mm. Also, I love Lily James. Like she's probably my celebrity crush at the moment. But I'll say this: I think you can cut her character out of the movie. I mean it does humanize and normalize like Troy Bolton's character in the movie. But like but I don't know. I If you weren't gonna do the whole like the message is that we shouldn't keep doing this, that like we should stop this family tradition because it's like toxic to this family. Like if you're not gonna do that, if you're not gonna go that route, then why? Besides the fact that it actually happened, why focus on it that much? I don't know. I just now, a lot of things in this movie didn't work really well for me. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. 3 out of 5. That's kind of all I got on it.
That's fair. So let me move on to one that you might like a little bit more than even I did, and
Mm-hmm.
that's that Timothy Chalamet sing-along film with our boy, oh yeah, director of Our Little Boy Paddington, Wonka. So how did you feel about Wonka?
So obviously I was very, very excited for Wonka because everyone, like when the trailer came out, everyone was like being a baby about it, and they were like, "No, it's so cringy, and who asked for this?" and blah 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 blah. And my opinion was, it's from the guy who made 2 perfect Paddington movies. So yeah, I trust this guy to go make a big studio live action fantasy family film. Yeah, I trust him to do that. Like, so whatever he wanted to do, great. And then, oh, Timothy Chalamet, like, he's a very hot commodity at the moment. I just bought Call Me by Your Name, which I've been meaning to do for a long time. But
Yeah, I was
yeah,
happy
I
you did
like,
that.
yeah, he's awesome. So like, I was very excited for that. I trusted it. We have Olivia Colman, Sally Hawkins. Sally Hawkins left Paddington 3 to go be in this movie. And like, she's not very much so in it,
Yeah.
but she's very impactful in the moments that she is in it. Like her final scene in the movie, I cried. I was tearing up in the theater. So needless to say, I love Wonka. I got this like nice little like my buddy gave me a what's it called? It's like an apron that says Wonka on
Nice.
it. So obviously, like I'm a big. He also gave me a shirt as well, and they gave us candy at the press screening. And I just had a big, dumb, wonderful smile on my face the entire time. I love the soundtrack. There's so many songs here that I've found myself listening to over and over and over again. Actually, because I'm gonna keep ranting. But so I'm gonna stop myself. What was your favorite song in the movie?
Trying to remember the names of the songs. Just give me one
That means
second,
it's not a
because
good music. No, I'm kidding. Like
no,
you would
like
remember if it was
I
good enough.
straight up the next day, like it's still in my recently played on Spotify. Like I was listening to it the next morning at like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I for me it's Sweet Tooth. I love myself a good villain song, and it's like I love how they're like seducing the policeman into like doing their evil bidding, and just how much fun they're having. They're very much so these mustache twirling villains, throwing up when people say poor, being very outward with their mischievous, like malicious plans,
Yeah.
and just how cartoonish that they were. Speaking of cartoonish, remember the guy that like they worked at the hotel that was like in a relationship with Olivia Colman. I forgot his name.
Oh yeah, it's oh shit. Hold, I know exactly what you're talking about, but yeah, the big goofy guy who starts like literally right when Wonka gets to town, he like starts preying on him immediately to start asking him questions.
He's literally like Pete from like the Mickey Mouse cartoons.
Oh,
Like
100%.
the teeth that like are so like jagged. He's got the big thick mustache, and
Mr.
he's very
Bleacher.
hulking dude. Yeah, I loved him. And he
Yeah.
has this like growling talk, like and obviously it's not like that, but like
Yeah, and they trick Olivia Colman, telling him he's like an aristocrat and that he's like rich.
yeah, or like some like war general, like respected
Yeah.
thing. And oh yeah, Olivia Colman's great too, because she's just so nasty in this movie, and like how much she's enjoying being such a nasty person. And so it's a lot of fun to see some of these actors go out and like do these fun roles. But yeah, sorry, I cut you off. You said what was your favorite song you said?
I think A Hatful of Dreams is honestly my favorite one because it just keeps popping in my head all the time.
Hmm.
But they're all so good. I mean, even my parents who aren't like, especially my dad, who's not the biggest musical person whatsoever, I think he might have enjoyed it just as much, if not more than me. Like he
Hmm.
really enjoyed even all of the songs and everything. I mean, the humor was great. I mean, the older man who was actually in the hotel or whatever that got down there in the basement doing the work,
Scrub,
it made
scrub.
yeah, it made me laugh so much because he's also from one of my favorite movies as a kid, The Little Vampire or whatever.
Hmm.
He was like the vampire hunter guy in that. So when I saw him, I was like, oh my God. So that immediately I was just into this movie. Keegan-Michael Key, honestly, even though he was very goofy, it made me laugh with all the different chocolate shit he was doing. And there was just so much humor in here with the music, the everything about it. I mean, the story was nice. It wasn't anything too crazy. And I love how they kind of like melded in the old songs from the original Willy Wonka movie into like
Hmm.
the score and kind of remixing the songs in a way, but not too much to where it's like weird pop remixes like they do in other movies. Like it was all very well respected of the original while still not like retreading on anything, kind of just telling this like new story in a way while filling in a little bit.
Yeah, no, I thought it was fantastic. Keegan Michael Key, you brought him up. I thought he was really funny too, because he's very overexposed. Like he's in a lot of things like this. And I thought, especially like with his character, like Willy Wonka being a cab was awesome. I mean, he's not, but you know what I mean? Like just the
Yeah,
fact like that the police were so corrupted, like obnoxious, like cartoonishly corrupt.
for
And this
chocolate. That's the funniest
yeah.
part.
The chocolate cartel, and then there's the chocolate ministry where like the chocoholic monks, chocolate monks or
Yeah.
whatever they call them. Yeah, I thought it was really funny. You brought up the Hatful of Dreams. Yeah, right away we are given a musical number, and it's great. It's wonderful. It's fun. It introduced us to this world and to Willy Wonka himself. I love the how it's kind of structured by him losing the 12 sovereigns that he comes into town with.
Yeah.
So I thought that was great. I love um, A World of Your Own. That plays in the credits as well. That's the song when he like opens up the shop. That's probably my second favorite after Sweet Tooth. And then I do want to bring up the song like the noodle noodle
Oh
out
yeah.
the strudel. Ah, for a moment, yeah, because they're kind of like singing over top of each other, and that's when they have the balloons and the flamingos are flying, and then I love when they're like twirling around the top of the building, like there's like a little spire at the top, and they're going around, and it's like this wonderful, magical, like little cute little relationship between this young chocolatier and this poor little orphan girl, and she was great too. I thought she was really funny in this as well.
Yeah, there's not a person in here that was really weak at all. Like everyone did their parts perfectly, and
Mhm.
it's just one of those movies that you can just smile and watch the whole time. Like it's harmless fun.
Mhm. Oh, and you never had chocolate like this. There's two versions of that. I think both are great. Obviously, I like the second one more because that one kind of crescendos more. I love the dancing in the movie. I love everything so much.
Yeah.
I yeah, I did want more Sally Hawkins in this movie, but kind of the lack of her, I feel like added like emphasis to like when she shows up at the end of the movie, it's like oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a huge fan. Do I think it's better than the Paddington movies? Probably not just yet, because I do hold those very, very close to my heart. So I need more rewatches of Wonka. How do you feel? How would you rank those three movies? Paddington
I
one, two.
honestly haven't seen Paddington 2 yet.
Still?
Yeah, like I've saw Paddington 1, but I haven't seen Paddington 2 yet, but I need to. But it's been a while. I need to just rewatch Paddington 1 as well, but honestly,
Mhm.
I'd probably still put those two above this one just because I know that those movies are so beloved, but Paddington 1 is just so much fun and he's just an adorable little character, but I mean, there's nothing really bad about this movie either, so it's kind of just a mixed bag, but they're all just great, so it's hard to even rank them.
I think if I do want to nitpick, like the Scrub Scrub song is probably my least favorite, but it's nothing like I'm not like annoyed or anything. And then I think having the Oompa Loompa in this like dark, like kind of like I don't know if it's London, but like this like dark, area is kind of like weird. Like when
Yeah.
you see him on the island and all the other ones on the island, like that looks fine there. And then we see him at the chocolate shop. It's just weird because he's so like saturated, obnoxious, like orange. Like he's more orange than my shirt right
Yeah.
now. And so it just feels like it doesn't work in like a human setting. But when he's surrounded by a bunch of other colorful stuff, which I'm happy they went with the Gene Wilder version of the Oompa Loompas because those have more of an iconic look, obviously, than the Burton ones.
Yeah.
But and I do think that the performance from Hugh Grant is good, and I like the direction they went with the character where he's like a grump, and he like doesn't want. Or like he's like all up in Wonka's business, and he's like even it extends to the interviews as well. You've heard Hugh Grant be like, "Yeah, this is an awful experience. I was in a thing, and I'm in my like I'm in my weird creature phase of my career, and this is all I can get for work." And I feel like all of that kind of adds to the bit of the
Yeah.
character. And you have to have the song, the oompa loompa doompa doo. But I do think that's like the weakest song in the movie both times that they do it.
Yeah.
And they look kind of
Yes.
weird. I don't know. I just think they look weird. How do you feel about the oompas loompas?
It was bizarre looking. Like it definitely didn't like take me out of it completely because obviously they're gonna be cartoonish. Like the characters in themselves are just strange and can honestly look weird and still work. But yeah, they definitely looked a bit off. But Hugh Grant, it seemed like even though he like in the press he's making a joke out of it, it seemed like he was having a good time playing around. He's kind of he just fit that role that of like a little asshole who's determined to just fuck with this guy more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Oh, another question I have for you is you said Timmy Jim is great. A lot of people don't like the Johnny Depp version, and Gene Wilder's version is like goaded. So, how do we feel about Timmy Jim in relation to those other two very distinct performances?
You know, probably the best part of Tim Burton's one is just how goofy and off the wall Johnny Depp is, and I respect the hell out of him for it. But
Me too, in like a Jared Leto Joker kind of way.
exactly, like, of course, Gene Wilder will always be like the goat of Willy Wonka. Like that was kind of his character. Like after his passing, like everyone sees him and he's like, "Oh, that's Willy Wonka." They don't see him necessarily as the guy from Young Frankenstein, even though that movie is fantastic, or Blazing
Blazing
Saddles or
Saddles.
whatever. Yeah, exactly. It's just it's always going to be Willy Wonka, and that's kind of why, almost in a way, it felt like Timothy was kind of putting on the Gene Wilder role, obviously, but at the same time, it didn't really feel like he was. mimicking him. Like it still felt enough originality to it. So I
Oh
would
yeah, I
still
don't think he was
probably,
mimicking me at all. He was definitely doing his own thing, I feel like, but it
yeah.
wasn't as like intense as Wilder's, you know?
No, yeah, it was definitely more subdued and he definitely like had I like his singing more than Gene Wilder's, if I'm being honest.
Oh, I never even thought about it in that regard, but I would agree, yeah.
Yeah. I like this music in that movie obviously are very good, but I feel like these songs I will probably like I've never really gone out of my way to listen to Willy Wonka soundtrack ever, but I'm gonna go back and listen to Wonka's. And I don't know if that's necessarily a saying it's better or whatnot, but it's just more my taste, I guess, in the way. Because obviously, I'm a huge like Greatest Showman guy. It's one of my favorite soundtracks ever, and this soundtrack kind of reminded me of it. Like not as epic to me, but the songs kind of reminded me in a way of like the tone and everything and what they were going for in certain
Oh, that's
different
very
scenes.
happy and
Yeah,
uplifting. Like, isn't this wonderful? Isn't it
exactly.
magical? Yeah, I think that obviously I think Wilder's much better. There's sometimes where like Timmy Jim's trying to be kooky and he gets a little close to like the Johnny Depp not Johnny Depp Joker, Johnny Depp Wonka.
Mhm.
But there's other times where like I feel like it really works. Like when he looks at the screen after they or looks at the girl, and it's like a close up of his face, and it's after their chocolate shop like failed, and he like yells out, he's like, we're gonna fly like flamingos.
Yeah,
I love that delivery. There's some because you see in the trailer he does like absolutely insane, and it just feels like he's trying really hard to be kooky and weird. But like I feel like it works in the content because this is like a kind of heightened reality. Like it's not
hmm,
exactly the real world. Obviously, there's like mythical chocolate and creatures and whatnot. So I feel like it's fine, especially when you put him next to other like people who are also acting like cartoon characters, like Olivia Colman's character, like Mr. Bleacher. You said.
yeah, Mr. Bleacher, something like that. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, and so I thought he did a good job. I didn't nominate him or anything, and I do love like I just love how they like left this character off. I did feel like I was kind of calling it right before the movie. I was like, oh, something really bad is going to happen. Something tragic is going to happen at the end of this movie, and that's going to sow the seeds for later on when Wonk is obviously like this shut in, and but I kind of felt like at the end of Age of Ultron. Remember how like we had Civil War coming up next, and we are like, oh, everyone's gonna be pissed at each other after Ultron, and it ends with like Thor, Captain America, and like Iron Man like walking together, being like, until next time.
yeah.
And it's like, oh, I thought you were gonna set it up more. I mean, I don't want another Wonka movie. Do you want another Wonka movie?
Yeah, no, I think it was a good lead in to okay, now we can go watch Willy Wonka and that's awesome. Like it's more of that. Like I don't if they made more, like I wouldn't be like boycotting it, be like, I'm not gonna watch it, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
think it's necessary whatsoever. I think honestly I want to ask you about this because Timothy obviously is going on doing a lot more things and Dune 2 would have been out around the same time. So what do you think would have been the more Timothy Chalamet movie that people would have really ran to? Do you think it would have still been Dune 2, or do you think people would have been hyping up Wonka even more?
I think that the timing's kind of convenient because believe it or not, Wonka's already made at least $110 million at the domestic box office, which a lot of talk about the box office in next year's movies because we at the end of this episode we will be doing our ass game where we predict our most anticipated movies, but they need to make $100 million and they also need to have a good Rotten Tomatoes score. So it's funny because I was researching movies like what last year, and there's 23 movies that made $100 million domestically, and one of them was Wonka already, which those December movies are kind of like tricky. But I feel like because of the good press that movie has gotten, like I don't know, have you seen all the TikToks of people being like they're playing the Timmy Jim song, and then a lot of my mutuals are also like, oh, well, Timmy Jim like did a great
I
job, like it's gonna
haven't,
steal my girl.
but the one thing that I will say on TikTok recently, I made a TikTok like months ago, maybe even a year ago now, where I talked about like the old Willy Wonka movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been like continuously every day getting multiple likes like over and over to the point where like it had like 20 and now it has over 100. Like so this
Mm-hmm.
movie is definitely is popular on TikTok for sure, but I haven't seen it necessarily myself.
Mm-hmm. So, what was the question again? I just told. Oh, how?
Oh,
So, in
Dune 2.
relation to Dune, I feel like it's going to benefit Dune 2 because people got to see a role where, because in Dune he's very like,
Yeah, he's
like
very
it's very
serious.
cold. It comes off as cold because I
Yeah.
worked on this movie as well, and they're asking questions like, "Oh, like do you find this stuff like relatable? Is it like warm in any degree, or do you think it's too cold?" And it does come across like that. But when you watch Dune, like there's a at least one scene. There's a huge cast, right? Timmy Jim has one scene at least with every single character in that huge cast where it's like a nice, warm, personal, like really friendly. They're laughing, like you care about these characters. So seeing him in a role where he's kind of doing the opposite thing, where instead of this like dark sci-fi, he's kind of reserved, a more grounded performance. It's more of this like wacky, fun, crazy one. And for him to be able to pull that off, especially after so many people doubted him, I think that's just only going to make people more excited about Dune.
Well, that, and I hope more people watch Bones and All because that was one of my favorite movies last year
Me
too.
too.
And he was fantastic in that too. Like he's much better than a lot of people give him credit for.
No, yeah, he's fantastic. He's one of the best young actors of our generation. It's too bad that Tom Holland exists because he should be with Zendaya. I mean, we all believe that, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because he's a far better actor than Tom Holland. Like Tom Holland, I actually don't like Tom Holland anymore. Like I think he's kind of bad.
Well, yeah, I haven't seen a lot of his other stuff outside of Spider-Man, so I can't really speak to too much of it. But
Well, I just watched Spies in Disguise, and he was terrible in it.
oh yeah,
No.
that was just a bad movie in general, unfortunately. But yeah,
Yeah.
Wonka is fun. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It might jump up to a 5 out of 5 eventually because I can't, looking back at it now, I can't really complain too much about anything. It
Mhm.
was just a really fun time. And my parents loved it. I loved it. It was just a fun time at the movies.
I'm a little Homer baby boy who loves candy and smiling all the time. So I gave it a 5 out of 5. It's one that I've already like rewatched like big sections of the movie, so I haven't like fully rewatched it. But I'm at the theater all the time, so I'm rewatching big sections, like
Yeah.
30, 40 minute like chunks. And so I'm very familiar with the movie now. And it's one that I'm going to be rewatching. I think it might make my top 10 list. I still have to do like another round robin bracket of all my 5-star movies, but it's one that really hit me on a personal level. And I will say another thing about the movie is I didn't feel, which you saw the Hunger Games prequel, right?
I did.
And I guess we can kind of transition into that because it sounds like we're done with Wonka. But my one thing I like about Wonka that I don't like about Hunger Games is every time that they do a reference, like they're both prequels, every time they do a reference to the original franchise, I'm like in Wonka, I'm like, oh, okay, like at the end with the the golden ticket and like and all the Oompa Loompa stuff and the blah 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 blah
Are you telling
whatever.
me you didn't like the Katniss plants when they found those?
Oh, that's so annoying. That's so annoying when they're just like, what's this plant called? Oh, I think it's called Katniss. And then they
Yeah,
like
it was,
pause for everyone to
dude,
cheer.
it made me so mad because my fucking theater was like quiet too. Like there were only like probably like 6 other people in there maybe. But
Hmm.
yeah, there wasn't a fucking like haha or anything like that. There was just a silence, and I was like, that's exactly what I wanted out of that. That was not clever. It was just a fucking annoying thing that they had to do.
Yeah, and they'll be like, because I watched it at press screening, and I was like, I just like realized that I was sick midway through the movie, so it definitely hindered my opinion of it. But yeah, there's like a moment in the movie where they're sitting there talking like, oh blah blah blah, this happened at District 12, and it's like, I know Katniss is from there. I get it. Like, it's just felt so cringy every time that they were like, because again, okay, Wonka, if they're like, oh, remember Pure Imagination? Like the last time we saw that song on the big screen, I mean, did we even see it I don't think we saw it in the Burton one, did we?
I honestly could not tell you. Like I own the movie on Blu-ray, but I have not watched it since 2005 when it came out.
Dude, I had the birthday party. You know the movie theater birthday parties that they do? Yeah, that was me for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So even if they
It's
did play
beautiful.
it there, that's like what, 2005? So it's been
Something
like
like that,
18
yeah.
years. Whereas Hunger Games, we had the last one in 2015. It's not even been like 8 years. And you're like, hey, remember the Hunger Games? And I'm like, yeah, that was like a minute ago, So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this Hunger Games movie. How did you feel about
I definitely enjoyed myself, but my biggest complaint is why the fuck was it over 2 hours long? It was
it?
way too long. I was in that theater and I was like, I right when the games ended, I was like, all right, let's start wrapping it up here. And then we went on for like a fucking another hour after that. and
Mhm.
it just felt unnecessary. Like I liked some of the story, and I was like, but Snow is like turning into like a school shooter at some point, especially after he cuts off his hair. Like he just started freaking me out more than anything. But it was a fun story. I didn't hate it. I'm not the biggest Hunger Game movie fan. I read all the books and I definitely prefer them over the movies.
Mhm.
Huge Catching Fire fan, but this was a good movie. Like I liked Rachel Zegler in it. I liked the other guy who I can't remember his name, but all the performances were good. Viola Davis was amazing. I really liked her just like playing off the wall weird lady. Yeah, and I mean even little Peter Dinklage, he was fun too, but nobody was like outstandingly great.
Mhm.
I liked the song more than I liked it in the original movie.
Oh, are you?
Yeah,
Are you?
I liked the little
Uh,
like twang to it almost.
I will say it's funny because there's a couple things you said that I would like to address. So first of all, you said no one was fantastic in the movie. I will argue that Jason Schwartzman is inspired
I
casting in
take
this
that back.
movie.
I will take that back. Jason Schwartzman was a perfect person for that role. It was brilliant.
There was some much needed levity with his character because it's a very dark and dour like movie. So I really enjoyed him a lot. And yes, Olivia, shoot, oh my god, I just totally blanked her name. What's her name again?
Rachel Zegler,
Oh no, Viola Davis.
Viola Davis. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry, I don't know why I thought Olivia. Viola Davis and Peter Dinklage are much more interesting actors to watch than like Rachel Zegler and Rachel Zegler's boyfriend, and then Rachel Zegler's Nazi boyfriend. Yeah, that's what it felt like. It just felt like a Nazi youth movie. Especially since like I watch interviews and this guy does not have blonde hair, so he like dyed his hair blonde, which kind of works because it's like he wasn't a capital person, and but he's masquerading as a capital person,
Hmm.
and he's obviously like actions speak louder than words. You know what I mean? Actions are more important than anything. So I don't care what you were born into, you are actively doing like little Nazi boy things.
Oh, he was just
So
power. It was all power. If he had power, that's what he wanted. That's what he needed.
yeah,
Didn't care
and
who he
so
had to
he
fuck over to get it.
it was kind of cool to see like a devious like plotting character be our lead. It kind of felt like did you ever, this is a weird comparison. Did you ever see Total Drama World Tour?
No.
Yeah, I didn't expect you to,
I
but
don't
it
even
was
like I'm not even remembering what that is.
it's a sequel. Did you ever see Total Drama Island? How
Is
about
that
that?
the TV show on Cartoon Network?
Yeah, animated. It's a Canadian show, and
Yeah,
like it's like
I
Survivor for teens.
yeah, I watched it sometimes, but I was kind of out of the demographic by the time it came on, I think, just about.
All right, that's fair. Yeah, because you're a little older than I am. But yeah, so I was like Total Drama World Tour might be my favorite season of television like ever. And my favorite it's because Alejandro is this new character that's added, and he's like this really hot guy, and he's like really smart as well. And he is like kind of like the lead in this season. And he's a brand new, and it's really awesome because like the first two seasons they don't like they're all the same characters. So this third season is all the same characters again, and Alejandro and someone else. And the whole like main thread of the movie is he's like deviously like plotting to one by one get every person out, and he does. He's like awesome. Like he'll like flirt with the hoes and then like trick them into getting themselves voted out. And that's how I kind of felt like here because he's just like actively trying to win this like big like game, and he's just like deviously like picking people off and doing these little things and cheating
Oh
people
yeah.
over. So I thought that aspect was cool. And then the other thing you brought up was the twang to like the music that she sang. So you know how she had like this like southern accent going.
Yeah, that wasn't good. She was in and out of it so often that I was like, no, you should have just like not done an accent.
Well, it makes sense because District 12 is in the Carolinas area, so she would
Yeah.
have a southern accent. But then why doesn't Jennifer Lawrence or any of those other people in District 12 have it? Is that much time passed? And then the only explanation there could be for that, you can tell I'm getting upset because my voice is getting more higher like Charlie Day. It's like they're a traveling music group. So maybe they pick this stuff up, on the road. Maybe. I don't know. I don't care enough. I
Yeah,
don't care
no,
enough.
it's definitely fun. Like I'm gonna read the book eventually. I bought it, but I haven't read it yet. But
Mhm.
I don't think this is gonna be like even the older movies. Like I'm not a big fan of the movies. I don't go back and rewatch them that often, and I don't think I'm really gonna do it that much with this one unless I'm oh, everybody, you want to watch all the Hunger Games movies together? It's going to be one of those situations. Like, it's not going to be one I'm just going to be like, I really love the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Let's throw it in there. Because, like I said at the beginning, way too long. Like, this is one time where I'm like, break it up into another movie or something at this point because I am done. Like, you
Mhm.
could have crescendoed here and it would have been easily like a 4-star movie for me. Like, I was down, but once it started just dragging along toward the end, I was just done because I'd already, it was also the second movie I saw that day, which we're about to talk about the first movie I saw that day in just a moment here. But
Mhm.
yeah, I was just ready to get out of the theater at that point too, especially because it just felt like it was dragging on and on.
Yeah, so to address the book, it's easy for me to be cynical about this story because from my understanding of the timeline of real life events in Suzanne Collins' life is she wrote the Hunger Games books, they made the movies, and then I think in like 2020 is when she came out with the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and now they're doing this movie. So it feels like, okay, I did this thing, it was successful. Oh, can you do more? Do you have more that you can mine, more content that we can do? And so this just feels like, oh, it was successful. So here's some extra stuff. And that's really sums up how I feel about this movie. If you are a diehard Hunger Games fan, if you've read all the books, or even if you're just like a casual fan, you saw all of them and you really liked all of them, I guess, then this movie, you'll get something out of it. You will enjoy it. I don't think it's a bad movie. I'm not saying like if you're not have a previous attachment to the Hunger Games that you're going to be like, the fuck is this? Like you might enjoy it. But I give it like a 3 out of 5 because you're right, way too long. And I went with someone who read the book and was like, yeah, well, there was so much more in there that they could have even made it longer. And it's like, Jesus.
Yeah,
But
no.
the one thing I do
Yeah.
feel like helps the pacing is there very much so is like sections of the movie because the whole thing isn't the Hunger Games. We
Yeah,
have our
no.
like lead up, then we have the Hunger Games, and then we have the fallout of the decisions that were made in the Hunger Games, and then we kind of have the escape after that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and exactly what you're saying right there, how it's broken up like that. I wish instead of this being such a long movie, this is one thing where if it was like a 3-part like mini series type deal, that would have been way better for this because you
Mm-hmm.
needed those breaks. Like when it broke, it felt like the ending to me. So if they would have like broke it up like that, this would have been like way better in my opinion. But just the
Wait, so
fact that
what
it
point do you
kept
want to break off at?
like even like right after even just a two-parter like right after the games and then the rest of the story after that like it would be better because it felt like an ending there but the fact that it went on because I did it not go on for like almost like 45 minutes to an hour after the games ended like that was like the
Oh
halfway
yeah.
point so yeah
Mm-hmm.
I felt like if it could have broken up like that I probably would have enjoyed it more but I was just so done by that point, and it felt like the story was too. Like they were adding in more to the point where they were building into. Obviously, we have to show Snow just going completely off the fucking wall, but I don't know. It didn't feel right to me. I don't know.
Well, I don't even think they got him like he was bad enough. I thought he could have been more evil. I like they wanted to make it this big like tragic downfall and a tragic emotional downfall, but like malicious like power uprising. And I didn't really feel that at the end of this movie, but I do like your opinion. I think that there's two different versions of this movie that I think would be better than we have because I think it's over 2.5 hours long.
It's
Uh,
something. It's ridiculous.
yeah, so I think either make it a shorter movie, like cut it down to 2 hours, cut out a bunch of the fat out of the story, maybe cut some characters like the fucking Rachel Zegler's boyfriend. And by the way, like just to clarify, Rachel Zegler's boy, the guy, not the Nazi Snow guy,
No, yeah,
the
the
guy
Mexican
in real
guy.
life, who he's in West Side Story as well, where he
Yeah,
also plays Rachel Zegler's boyfriend. That's the thing. I will not respect this dude because I fully believe he only gets work because he's Rachel Zegler's boyfriend. And
yeah.
until I see proof
Haven't
of
seen him in anything
otherwise,
else.
and he's not bad or anything. I'm not
No,
I'm not saying fuck
honestly,
that
his
guy.
emotional acting when he's like freaking out in that one scene that's in the trailers and stuff
Oh
is
yeah.
probably some of the better acting in the movie, if I'm being honest. Like he
Mm-hmm.
definitely like played up his emotions there, and although it wasn't that believable that he was Peter Dinklage's son, I thought it was still a fun
He's
character.
Peter Dinklage's son.
I'm pretty sure that's what they were hinting at that whole
No,
time.
no, dude. He has rich parents. His family is. I watched this over a month ago, so I might be wrong. But his family was in one of the districts. But his father was really wealthy, so he through his financial influence got them to upgrade to like the capital. But they're kind of viewed in this like mudblood kind of like you're not really one of us. And so they're trying to do like the good way of like making peace happen, where it's like they're like the Democrats of like they're like, yeah, we're
It was
trying
just
to
weird
fix
that they
things, but they're
like
not doing
in the
anything, you know?
classroom scenes and stuff, the way they just kept looking at each other. I was like, is that like his dad or something? It was very confusing to me. Because
There
they would
might
like
be something going on there that I don't know.
maybe it's his dad's friend or something. Like, I'm not sure. Maybe it's just because they know each other better or something. I'm not sure, but it felt
Mm-hmm.
weird. I was like, is it supposed to be like his dad? I don't get it.
Yeah, but yeah, so either make it like a 2 hour movie, cut it down a half hour, and just admit that the story isn't like that interesting to last 2.5 hours. Or if you really believe in the story and you really want to double down, I don't like when they like. I think catching not catching fire, Mockingjay being 2 parts sucks,
Yeah,
right?
no.
So,
Yeah.
but I would be more open to kind of a Rebel Moon situation. Like, let's give me, or no, more like yeah, Rebel Moon, but kind of like Matrix, like the two sequels. Give me two 90-minute movies. Release one in March, one in November, because the first one came out in March and the last few came out in November.
hmm Yeah, 100% would make this way better. Because, like I said, there's not a whole lot I dislike, especially story-wise. Like, I liked where it played out. It just felt like we were dragging on far too long. So if you broke it up like that, I think it would help tremendously.
Yeah, and I think that is a nice little like breaking point there after the Hunger Games is over. And yeah, I just felt like we were a little rushed at the end, like the whole fallout of that situation. Oh, also I don't really like Rachel Zegler. Like don't okay. So here's the thing with Rachel Zegler, right? She's not I don't believe she's a bad person or anything like that. And I'm not like, oh, I hate her because she's a woman. That's not it. Because a lot of people do hate her because they're sexist. It's just annoying when she's out here. Like, I hate when actors go like, well, I need a job, I need a job. But then like Jacob Elordi's like, oh, I need a job. I did it because I need a job. But then he's like, yeah, but I turned down the Superman audition because it just wasn't for me. And it's like, well, I thought you needed a job, and that's the kind of attitude Rachel Zegler has. It's like, if you don't like Snow White, like she's like towing the line because she's like, I grew up loving Snow White, but also it's this sexist bullshit, fucking outdated story, and it's like you just seem like a phony after a while. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I couldn't give less of a shit about any of the Snow White stuff. Because like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up watching Snow White that much. Like if she's gonna like being Snow White, whatever. Is Snow White problematic with its story? Sure. I mean, it's whatever. It's a
It came
old
out a
princess
century
story that
ago.
came out in the fucking 30s or whatever. Like I don't. It does not bother me. Like if people still think that way, that's on them.
I guess I'm just more disappointed. It's like you straight out of high school, you got a lead role in a Steven Spielberg movie, and you parlayed that into the Shazam prequel, a Disney live action remake, and the Hunger Games prequel.
I mean, it's fucking lots of money though, so I gotta respect it a little bit.
But she had so much more potential, and she still does. She probably will, but
Oh yeah,
like,
I mean, she could even go into a musical career. Like she's a very good singer too.
yeah, and she's gorgeous, and I do think she has a lot of personality. I think she's a good actress. I'm she's overexposed at the moment. I'm done with her. She needs to win me back. I need to be won back. You know.
Yeah, I'm all right with it anyway. Like I haven't disliked any of her roles too much so far. I think the accent work in this one was probably some of the worst stuff she's done so far. But yeah, I overall this movie's fine, but the movie I really want to get into right now is the movie I
Oh,
saw earlier
but
that
3 out of
day.
5. I give it a 3. What'd you give it?
Yeah, I think I put it at like a 3.5 or around a 4 or so, but it's definitely leaning more 3.5 to 3. But the
Mm-hmm.
movie I really want to talk about, the surprise hit that everyone's talking about right now, that I'm real so happy they are, is Godzilla Minus One. Holy shit, did that movie just come out of nowhere? Because unfortunately, a lot of people in America aren't paying attention to Japanese cinema very often. So I had no idea that a new Godzilla movie was really even coming out that much. I know like the Godzilla Kong one's coming out next year, but I had no idea that one from Japan was coming out, and this movie was so, so good. I mean, everything about it. Godzilla was like a badass, just like tearing up shit, like way better than before, honestly. Like it felt like one of the older ones that I grew up watching, like with my dad, like the black and white shit.
Mm-hmm.
The soundtrack in it was so like just played up to the scene so well of like so impactful and like intense when like Godzilla's tearing through the cities or like when they're all planning to go attack Godzilla. Like you feel the emotions the whole time, even though obviously you're reading subtitles, but all of the acting is still just so emotional and just it gets you into that story so much. And that's one that I did not feel any runtime whatsoever. I could have watched like 2 more hours of just Godzilla tearing up shit and all these guys planning it. But even the story around it too, of just this guy who obviously right at the beginning is kind of like down, not really doing that well. And then throughout all of this crazy shit happening, his like hero's journey like grows and grows. So everything about this movie was kind of perfect.
I loved it. I was late to the train. Like I think I saw it the following week after everyone was freaking out about it. And I personally, this is my Godzilla growth. I watched the 2014 one at a theater. That was my first one, and I've done all of the ones since. So Godzilla King of the Monsters, Godzilla versus Kong, and then I went back and rewatch, or not rewatch, but for the first time watched the '99 one, or '99, or is the
Yeah,
'90s Matthew
it's
Broderick.
99, I think. It's pretty
Uh,
bad. 98,
and
99.
yeah, and then I went and before I watched this one, I watched the 54 Godzilla, which I do will say is my favorite Godzilla movie now.
Yeah.
And then I loved Godzilla Minus One so much that I went and bought Shin Godzilla and watched that, and I really like that as well.
Oh, I've seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really great. It's the one with the old red poster, and it's like God help us.
Yeah, I've seen the poster, but I don't know if I watched it.
Well, and that was the thing going into this is I was like, okay, so Minus One, by the way, the funniest prequel title I've ever heard. But yeah, Godzilla Minus One. Do I have to see Shin Godzilla first to understand this one? And people are like, no, just do it, man. And so I did, and I'm happy because there's nothing really like spoilery, I feel like, about Shin Godzilla, besides like, oh, Godzilla's still a thing,
Yep.
which you can kind of assume anyways just by knowing that that movie exists. But yeah, I love Minus One, and I think it made me hate the American Godzilla movies. Which Godzilla movies had you seen, by the way?
So yeah, I grew up a lot with the older ones, like some of the older Japanese, like the 50s ones. I would catch them on TV with my dad sometimes. Yeah, I need to see that one still. But yeah, I grew up with those ones a lot. The 90s Godzilla, that movie is so fucking bad. Like I did not like that movie. Even as a kid, I didn't really like it that much. And the 2014 one, not a big fan of either. I was because it was kind of sold as being Bryan Cranston's movie, and then
Yeah,
spoilers, he fucking dies in like the first 20 minutes.
the
And then
trailer
it
rips
becomes
though.
the brother and sister love story, which always made me feel uncomfortable after
Oh, because they
watching.
were going to be twins a year later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I saw that before I don't think I actually saw the 2014 one in theaters. I saw it after I saw Age of Ultron, so that was funny. But yeah, I enjoy like the King of the Monsters one. I thought was fun. I liked Godzilla versus Kong. I actually got both those on 4K recently. Like I enjoy those for the most part. I'm not a huge like Skull Island fan, even though a lot of people like that movie a lot. And I mean, yeah, going into this, like I always love like creature feature horror movies like that, just like monsters tearing shit up. So I'm always down for that. But this one was purely exactly that. Like the story was actually much better than I ever expected it to be. Like just the
Hmm.
pure emotions and how everyone got so like amped up, I guess, to like defeat Godzilla because he was tearing up their home and shit like that. Like there's definitely some parts where I was like, holy shit, they got me amped up. Like I'm ready to go fucking fight Godzilla too. But it was just a really fun movie. Like if you like just going to the movies and seeing a big spectacle that actually is not just a superhero movie, this is the movie to go check out because it was that. It was just everything you kind of want out of a monster movie.
Yeah, it made me embarrassed for the American ones because in the American ones we're always like, oh, stop with all the human stuff. You're making movies too long with all the. I don't care if Millie Bobby Brown, his parents or her parents are getting divorced or any of this other shit. None of it matters to me at all. And then I realized watching this movie, I'm like, oh, it's not that human characters are bad in a Godzilla movie. It's just that America makes shitty human characters
Yeah,
in their Godzilla movies.
they don't actually take the time to write out their characters because they think, oh, we're just here to watch the monster the whole time. But if you actually make characters that people care about, it's gonna make it a better movie. But apparently people
Mhm.
just can't get that into theirs.
I love the main character in Godzilla Minus One. I love the whole like, is your inner war over? Like fighting, continuing to fight the fight, like what it means to like serve your country and whether or not you should die for your country.
Yeah,
And
placing it in the time period that they did was perfect for that because Japan was very down. after like in that wartime and everything. Like they were not
Hmm.
anywhere where they are now. So it was perfect to pick that time where everyone was very negative and kind of
Hmm.
down. So yeah, it just worked perfectly.
Yeah, the triumph at the end. Like I know
Hmm.
exactly what you're talking about. You're like, fuck yeah, I want to fight Godzilla.
Yeah.
And Godzilla looks cool, and like you said, the music's great, and the effects are really good as well. I love this movie through and through. It's funny we just talked about like three prequels in a row. I never realized that, but it's funny because this is a 5 star for me, and I
Oh
gave
yeah.
Wonka 5. I gave Iron Claw and the Hunger Games
Ballad of the
prequel
Songbird and
3.
Sing
I think
Snakes.
that Iron Claw is better than Hunger Games, but I think Wonka's one I'll rewatch more and I will love more. But I'm trying desperately to get Godzilla Minus One into my top 10. It's just there's so many movies this year that I love so much. And I hate to say this, but with the barrier of subtitles, it's one that's like hard to be like, yeah, let me just throw this one on to fall asleep to, and then I find myself watching the whole thing. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah, it might sneak. It's right now. I think it's in my top 10. I'm not sure if it'll stay in there. It might just
Mhm.
be a recency bias, but it's gonna be interesting because yeah, this year is like so stacked with so much different stuff. But I'm excited to watch it again. It's such a great movie. If you haven't gone to see it and you like the American Godzilla movies, go out and see it as soon as you can. Try to see it in a theater if you still can, because it needs to be seen with that spectacle kind of just
Mhm.
on the big screen. I think it really plays to all of that too.
Oh, I saw an RPX and like the seats are shaking, and it was a real fun experience. I really love this movie, and I love seeing it succeed so much here. And it was awesome because like 2 weeks in a row, it was Japan because
Yeah.
we had that, and then Boy and the Heron, which I loved so much. I like this more than that though.
I
But
unfortunately haven't got to see that yet, but I really want to.
oh, it's great, especially watch the dub. But yeah, the Shin Godzilla, definitely check that one out as well. I bought the Blu-ray because it came with a digital, and the digital is for Crunchyroll, and I was like, I don't use that, so I'm not gonna use that at all. But
I used to, but I haven't in years.
yeah, but I offered it to Tyler because he's more of an anime guy,
Yeah.
but whatever. Yeah, I'll give it to you. Honestly, if you want it, I'll give it to you because I don't have any use for it. But yeah, great movie. Great way to cap off the year as well. Yeah, it's a 5 out of 5 for me. I cried. I was horrified. It's a scary movie, you know?
Oh yeah, it's a 5 out of 5 for me. Yeah, definitely check it out as soon as you can. It is like it's right up there with the original Godzilla. So if you're a fan of that one especially, you are going to love this movie.
Awesome. Cool. Is there any other movies that you want to touch on before we play our game here today?
Let me
I
look
know I
real
texted you
quick just
a
to be
little list.
sure. No, I think we got everything covered on that list. And well, I mean, we can talk about since, oh yeah, I mean, it just came out. Why don't we just chat about Aquaman real quick? We can talk
Oh
about it. A lot of
yeah.
people are really shitting on this movie right now. And does it deserve a little bit of the shit? Maybe a little bit, but is it as bad as a lot of people are saying? I honestly don't think so.
Well,
It's
you
a
gave it
very,
what, 2 stars?
I gave it 2.5. I was on the right, I was gonna give it a three and I gave it a three at one point, but I was like, I didn't necessarily like it that much, but I like I'm a big fan of both Jason Momoa and Patrick Wilson and their back and forth brotherly bullshit throughout the movie. That's what I
Mm,
enjoyed the most about this movie. A lot of the other stuff wasn't that great, unfortunately. Like some of the effects, I was very sad to see how rough they looked a little bit, especially because like I'm a big James Wan fan and I'm a big James Wan defender. But this one I can't defend as much because I have no idea what really went wrong here. Because even comparing it to the last movie that came out 3 or 4 years ago, it looks like
5.
the PlayStation 2 version of that movie almost. Like it's very bizarre. And I mean, Amber Heard's still in it way too much. I thought she
Oh,
was
but
going to
she's
be in it
barely in
less.
it though, you
That's
know?
true. I mean, you can tell where she was cut out because like Jason Momoa is basically like a single dad like the beginning of the movie and I'm like, is she dead? Like what happened? But she's like around still. She's like in the ocean doing
Mhm.
shit.
Mhm.
But I'm just like there's so many things here that were like I'm liking the dialogue with Jason Momoa. I think he was a writer on the movie, so I'm guessing he probably wrote a lot of his own shit.
I noticed that too. I thought that was odd. And I've never been like crazy about his interpretation of the character, but I do feel like they really like leaned into the, dude, bro, we're having a good time.
Well,
Let's just spout off
it
jokes.
makes
It's
sense
cheesy.
to where they wrote it in because he's like grew up in this little fishing town in Alaska being like a hard ass rough
Mhm.
and tough guy. So like that part of it makes sense to me, but yeah, it's not I'm not a huge like comic book fan, especially with DC in general, so I can't speak to a lot of the original lore stuff when it comes to that. But yeah, I mean, even the stuff in like the ocean and everything, like none of the story in this movie, like I can't even barely remember half the shit that happened other than like Black Manta wanted revenge because his dad got killed, and that's pretty much all I can really think about at this point. He like got his
Mhm.
little crew together, but nothing really that memorable happened in this movie either.
Yeah, it's very Thor the Dark World, our
Yeah.
god, dude bro, long hair guy, teams up with his formerly evil brother, breaks him out of prison so that he could stop the new bad guy. And I do think Manta was a little bit of a waste because he's fun. There's some funny dialogue with him. And you do like he faces off against the main hero once every act. It's awesome. You get a lot of face to face time. And then all the Patrick Wilson stuff is fun as well. He's a really good actor. I love when he runs like Naruto runs. I noticed it the first time and I was like, the fuck is he doing? And then later on they bring it up and I'm like, yeah, wait, when he swims, he wouldn't use his arms really. So that makes sense. But and I like the direction they went with his character. There's a moment where someone who's been giving him a lot of shit throughout the movie is in trouble, and he kind of gives him like it's like, help me, brother, and like he's just like, and then like leaves out that scene. I was like, anything can happen. Oh my gosh, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
And I like to think that I don't know. I really like that direction with the kid because that was what I liked about the first movie, Elias. There was a personal connection with all the villains, and we get a lot of face to face time. I do memorable stuff, dude. There's plenty of memorable stuff. Remember Boss Nass? I mean, it wasn't Boss Nass, but Martin Short plays this like fish creature, this like Jabba the Hutt esque fish creature, and he's
Oh,
like
yeah, a little bit, yeah.
yeah, they have that little fight down there. And then there's so many weird sea creatures. There's a guy with the claw who keeps coming off.
Yeah, if
The
they would just
king.
lean into more of that weird shit and not do like the story itself, I just didn't care about it as much. Like take Black Manta out of it at this point and just do more weird shit in the ocean and kind of just make Atlantis
Mm.
more fun and broaden that more, I think, and I would have had way more fun with this.
They got a little octopus guy that they're friends with.
Yeah, that made me laugh, especially when they were like trying to get him to open the door and shit like that.
Oh, and then the ending of this movie is fun. I think it's kind of perfect because it mirrors the ending of Iron Man, which it's poetic that like the end of the DCEU would mirror the beginning of the MCU. But oh yeah, and then there's a whole like Black Panther type beat to this movie because it's like, oh, we have this like super secret town full of awesome technology and stuff, and we're cut off from the world. But I think that we should join with the other world and like that whole debate. So it just feels like a lot of derivative stuff, but it is very cheeseball fun. Like it's an elevated, like a big budget B movie. And you know what? I'm not crazy about the first one either. I gave both of them a 3. And I'll tell you what, this one's 20 minutes shorter. And wait, it's 20 minutes shorter. And there's another thing that I liked more about it. But yeah, I feel like I'd rather watch this one. It's kind of like the relationship between Doctor Strange and Doctor Strange 2. Like I feel like the first one's the better movie, but like I'd rather watch the second one. There's more things I like in the second one.
Yeah, the second one's way more fun. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Like I haven't watched the first one.
Mhm.
I definitely watched it once after the theater because I bought it, but yeah, it's not one I go back to rewatch that often, but I can't really think of anything I dislike about it too much. That
Oh,
one's
this one,
not that
yeah, is
memorable to
also
me
the Amber
either.
Heards and much less of it. That was the other thing that I was like,
Ah,
wow,
yeah.
immediately better, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
But
even though they cut her out of a lot of this, I feel like she would just should have been cut out in general, but that's just me.
yeah, and Nicole
'Cause
Kidman and
the rest of the cast honestly didn't feel that, even though they had big names, like they weren't really necessary.
Mhm.
Like it was pretty much the Momoa Wilson show almost, and like featuring fucking Randall Parks, who I like in a lot of other things, but in this one, he's really got on my nerves a little bit.
Yeah, he kind of has that oh my god, I was gonna reference Bob from the Batman 89 movie.
Oh damn.
Uh like he kind of felt like the bumbling henchman.
I mean,
who
almost he was almost getting to that range of like fucking what is it? Is it Darcy in the fucking Thor movies?
oh, you
The
thought he
dark
was
haired
that annoying?
movie?
Yeah, yeah.
At parts, I mean, he was just like basically like being saying what was happening on screen and being like, ah, this is happening. And it's like, dude, you are way funnier than this. I've seen you on like Fresh Off the Boat. Even in the Marvel universe, your character is way funnier than this, but it just wasn't hitting for me whatsoever. And I'm actually a big fan of his, so it was really sad.
Yeah, I think that I put this in the kind of the realm that I put like The Conjuring 2. Like, oh, this is an obligatory sequel that you kind of like had to do. But I can't wait. Like, the next movie he's gonna make is like a Book of Cthulhu or something like that. And there's clear like love of like the horrors of the deep sea. Like, I love, the Lost Kingdom. They have like those like knights or whatever, and they got like they're like all black with like the green eyes, and they got like the green smoke coming out of them. That was badass, man.
Yeah,
And like, remember the creatures from the first movie on that little boat? And like all the creatures coming out. Yeah. Give me
yeah,
a James Wan monster movie in the water. I'll take that.
absolutely. I am 100% down for that. James
Mhm.
Wan, James Wan horror-esque things, I'm always for.
And I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, the mid-credit scene is kind of the perfect send-off to this like DCEU." I will still maintain that seeing George Clooney is still the funniest like way for the DCEU to end. But yeah, I
Yeah.
just want to say like thank you to the DCEU for better for worse. It was interesting.
Yeah, man, like there's movies in there that I'm always gonna go back and watch just for fun. They might not necessarily be the best movies, but they're
Mhm.
movies and they're fun.
They're movies. You're right. They are movies. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even feel that. I have way more thoughts about it, but 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna change mine to a 3 out of 5, I think too, because I definitely like it more than I hate
Aha!
it, but that's where I'll stand on that one.
All right, good, good, good. Well, we should move on to our game here. I do just want to say congratulations officially now that the Marvels has seemed to end its theatrical run with $84 million domestically, and Aquaman I think is at 58 million, and there's like 2 days left. Not happening, Chief.
Yeah,
So, congratulations to Steve for winning the ass anticipation game. Woo!
ass play, if you will.
And by the way, what a time for you because you are in the finals in our Dynasty Football League, correct?
I am, and I think it's honestly I'm looking pretty good so far. I think CJ Stroud's gonna play, so I'm feeling a lot better than I did a few days ago when he was questionable.
There you go. And just to recap last year's ass anticipation game, Steve wins with 618 points, and I lost with 460, which means I am down 158. So I'm at least 2 movies away, which makes sense because you had 2 movies that didn't qualify because they didn't make $100 million, and I had 4 movies that did not qualify because they didn't make $100 million. Your highest highs were Mission Impossible and John Wick with a 96 and a 94 respectively. Your low was the lows, I will say, were Fast X and Mario, 56 and 59, respectively. Me, somehow I fumbled Barbenheimer. Think about that for a second. I had Oppenheimer at 93 and Barbie at 88, and somehow I still lost, and Spider Verse at 96. So that just shows you how much I suck.
I just got
Um,
lucky.
yeah, well, I had some unfortunate luck with, but even if Dune 2 came out and was 100%, I'd still be 58 percentage points behind.
Yeah, and
So I can't even
unfortunately with
fully
Denis
blame it on
box
that.
office, you can't even really bet on that too much either. Because his luck, unfortunately, people just he's one of the best filmmakers out there, but people just don't go out and fucking see his movies.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but at least we know that it's like, hey, well, there's going to be a great movie that comes out next year. So,
So just for a
2022.
question real quick. Since you didn't
Mm-hmm.
get Dune 2, is Dune 2 on the table for this year for me now?
It is. It is.
Okay.
And I think that since you won, you should be given the advantage of going for you went first last year, but that
That's
was because it
true.
was my game and I was like, oh, you go first. But I do feel like the correct thing would be that the winner gets the advantage of getting to pick first. So I'm making out our little list here.
All right, while you do
So
that, I'm gonna grab my phone charger. I mean my laptop charger.
all right, Eve and then Adam. Do 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 do. Movies are cool and movies are great. Movies are favorites all the time. Ba-da-da-do-do-do, ba-da-da-do-do. And I have some movies that I really, 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 really want to pick. But who knows if I'll be able to pick them? I'm so afraid. All right. Well, let's see. Actually, I'll keep it here. I think I know what I'm gonna take if you don't take. Let me
What?
see. Actually, I think I know what you're gonna take because you get first pick and you can totally pick that one. Um, but I'm
Oh,
trying
you
to
think you
figure
know
out
what
what
my
I'm
number one
gonna take.
is?
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't know because you just mentioned how you were like, well, I don't know if it's a lock necessarily. So let's see
I'll
here.
tell you that that's not my number one. I say that.
Okay, well, spoilers. I'm gonna take it.
Okay,
that's
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 fair.
that's mine. I deserve it. God damn it!
So,
I invested in this movie.
do you want to roll through the rules real quick before we start throwing other picks just
Oh,
to
I should have just rolled
refresh?
through it while you were gone. Yeah, that's fine. So, this is the ass anticipation game. Basically, we play a game where at the beginning of the year we take all of the movies that are going to come out and we kind of draft them. Not every single one, but we're trying to see who has the highest score. So, when you draft a movie, when you take a movie, the movie needs to gross $100 million for the Rotten Tomatoes score to count. So we add up the total Rotten Tomatoes score of all the movies that you draft, together. So like Mario has 56. So we add that to John Wick has 94. So we add those together because those both been $100 million. And then you get a total number. So that's how you got 619,
Yep.
618, right? That's the total number of Rotten Tomatoes percentage points of movies that you drafted that grossed $100 million domestically. So you're encouraged to pick movies that are going to be popular, going to make a lot of money because you need to make at least $100 million, which only 23 movies did last. Well, 22 actually, because two of them were Avatar 2 and Puss in Boots 2. So we couldn't draft those. But yeah, so if we each draft 10, we should have roughly 20, which every year there's roughly 20 movies that make $100 million. So the movie needs to make $100 million. And if it does, you get the Rotten Tomato score added to your total score. So I know I probably made that a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. But Steve, you get the first pick. We'll go back and forth. No snake, just back and forth, nice and easy. So we give each other time to think. And this is a really hard year, I feel like, because there's not a lot of like obvious stuff on the table.
Well, one that I think is fairly obvious at this point, a franchise that's been doing quite well over the years, and one that's actually newly been acquired by a new studio, kind of, for his third movie in the franchise, and that would be Deadpool 3.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think that you were probably, I know you were thinking I was going to go Dune 2, which I was thinking about it, but at the same time, like I was saying, Denis box office just isn't there sometimes. So it kind of made me nervous. But
Mhm.
one guy that always brings in and just always people just love it ever since that first Valentine's Day is Deadpool, Wade Wilson. So
Mhm.
I'm betting on that. They obviously are bringing back Hugh Jackman for that one too. That's their big selling point right now. So I think it's going to bring in a lot of cash and hopefully it grabs that Rotten Tomato score. I'd be shocked if it doesn't.
Yeah, I was talking about it last night on my walk because obviously that's one in my top echelon. But the thing that was holding me back is like, well, first of all, it's got that whole multiverse thing, so people might be like, it's just cameo porn or whatever. And then people might not like that they bring back Wolverine, Hugh Jackman Wolverines because of Logan. So I thought about that, and then the first one I think it's like a 90s in Rotten Tomatoes, and the second one I think is in the low 80s. So I predict a high 70s for this next Deadpool movie. But yeah, you're right. It's definitely gonna make $100 million. Everyone loves Marvel, and well, not really these days, but everyone loves Deadpool, and so I think that this is a pretty safe pick. So I don't blame you very much at all. Oh, just another thing, the movie needs to make $100 million in this year. So if you pick a movie that comes out Christmas Day, like Nosferatu, and it needs to make $100 million in 6 days. So good luck
Never
with
know. Robert Eggers, man.
just yeah, I put Dune 2 down the moment you said you weren't taking it. I'm
Yeah.
taking Dune.
Let me erase that off
It
my list now. Just
It's Denis. It's Denis. So you're up, but I'll talk about Dune for a second. Denis. So we know it's going to be great. He's never made a bad movie
Oh yeah.
whatsoever. And I think with all the buildup, like it's not going to have the day and date release with HBO Max on streaming or now Max. It's got a huge cast, a bunch of great young people, a bunch of great older people, and it's a big sci-fi thing. There's not a lot of competition with it. And like it was my 9/11 when it was delayed, so like, and it was a lot of people, so like I feel like this is gonna have like the juice to get it there at the box office where it
Oh
needs to
yeah.
be. So you are up for your second pick, good sir.
Well, yeah, just to throw that in there too, I'm a huge Dune fan. I'm a huge Denis fan, so I'm very hopeful that that's a big success for you. But my number two right now, I think I'm gonna go for a number two as well. This is a hard one because
Ah,
there's lots of number twos out coming out next year.
there's one
But
I like really want.
I think I'm gonna take the one that I think is the safest bet at this moment, just because people love that first one so fucking
Oh,
much.
damn
I'm
it, you
going
got it.
Inside Out too.
Oh, okay, yes, take it, take it.
Oh yeah,
Yes, take
I have a
it.
feeling I know what you're going for, but Inside Out 2 just feels like the safer bet because people love those Disney movies. They'll take their kids, and I feel like that's going to be one that people are like, yeah, I'll take my kids to that one because I love that movie. Because so many adults love that movie too. Like the whole Bing Bong shit just got so big.
I love Bing Bong.
Exactly, and I mean, I love the movie too. There's nothing I complain about, and I saw the movie when I was like, when did that movie come out? What year do you?
2015
Yeah,
June.
so I would have been 19 years old, but I still really enjoyed that movie, even out of high school. So I think it's one of those franchises that just crosses all generations, and it's probably going to make a lot of money too. So that's why I'm
Mhm.
putting it at number two. But I know there's a lot of other ones, and I really hope you don't go for the one I think you might be going for.
I think it's a great pick, Inside Out too, because it's definitely in my upper echelon as well. It's a safe bet. If Elemental with the same release date makes $100 million, then obviously Inside Out 2 with the people who love the original one. I cried at the original. It's my top 10 of
Oh yeah,
2015. Probably wouldn't be today, but whatever. And it's just a safe. Family movies are a really safe bet. So I respect that pick. But I wanted to avoid, like, I was happy because I was like, I think it will be worse. And Pixar is in a downward spiral, and this is just another Pixar sequel. So
true.
it might have people being like, eh. But yeah, it's very, very safe. It's going to make 100 million. So a good pick, good sir. Um, so for me, I think I'm going to take a movie that I feel very passionate. This is kind of a risk. There's another two movies that I should definitely take above this, but you kind of alluded to it, so I want to take it now because I can't wait for this movie. I think it's going to be fantastic. And also, I want movies on my list that I love. God damn it. Okay. I picked Quantumania last year and I feel dirty receiving those 48 percentage points or whatever the hell it got. So I'm going to take movies that I love. And I'm going to take Joker Part 2 with Lady Gaga. Was that the one you thought?
Yeah, I had that on my list and I was like, damn, I was like, I could say that, but I just don't feel safe enough because people are always bitching about it being like a musical type thing. And I'm like,
That's why I'm
that
excited.
exactly that personally, I'm like, great, change it up, do something dangerous that a lot of people aren't gonna expect. And it makes me so much more excited than just another, oh, we're just gonna tell another story about Joker. Like, whatever. I'll still watch it, but I'm not gonna be nearly as excited or interested as something so different as this. I mean, and also, I'm a big fan of Lady Gaga too. I wasn't
I love
like
her.
a few years ago, I wasn't the hugest fan, but especially as she got more into acting and then I looked more at her music and I'm like, damn, this lady is just fantastic. I'm a huge fan. So I can't wait to see this movie too. I'm sad that you picked it, but I also respect that you did because
Mhm.
yeah, it's a tough one because like I said, it already has the controversy just when it was announced that it was gonna be that, but I still feel like it's probably gonna be at least a box office success, and hopefully the critics can get behind it too. Because I have
Mhm.
a feeling Todd Phillips is gonna do some weird shit, but I think we're gonna be in for a fun ride.
You got a $1 billion R-rated movie. You got the fact that, like, you already had an Oscar-winning actor, and now you're adding another Oscar winner with Lady Gaga. Todd Phillips seems to be on a more positive curve, and maybe this time he's not going to like copy and paste a Scorsese plot. I heard he is, though. I think it's New York, New York. That's what he's like basing it off of or whatever. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, I feel good about it. I'm really excited. So I just want to pick movies that I like. Like I want to lean towards those. So You are up for your third pick, good sir.
I want to do something a little more dangerous just because you are, but I don't
I have
know.
I have nine in my upper echelon. We've all three so far, or all four have been in that echelon. So,
I think I might jump to one that you might not expect as much, but one that had a movie come out this year that was pretty damn successful that they're gonna make another one coming out next year.
oh, I know what you're
It was a
taking.
pretty big box office, and it was actually pretty big on Rotten Tomatoes too. So if they're keeping up that same thing, it could be pretty successful. So yeah, I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go Saw 11.
Oh, oh, that is not at all what I thought you were going to take. Oh, wow. Okay, Saw 11.
Yeah, I loved Saw X so much. It was just such a out of this realm type of thing that I was not expecting it to be as good as it was. But yeah, I really, really loved it. It was a huge box office success. I mean, they spent like a few million to make it, and I'm pretty sure it made, I forget how much, but just fucking insane numbers. So,
I'm looking it up right now
but
because
yeah,
I'm kind of interested too.
even like critically, it's definitely the highest, if not it's right next to like Saw 1 of being like some of the highest on Rotten Tomatoes too. Like
Hmm.
just it was insane how well it was received.
It did top out at 53 million domestically, but it was very well reviewed and it had a lot of competition because it ran into Five Nights at Freddy's and The Exorcist, and it's got a lot of good word of mouth. And so
Well,
if they
yeah,
keep
and
going in that direction, I think that's not a bad pick.
no, yeah, I'm excited to see what they do next because especially if they keep it in that same type of time period, I'm down for that 1,000,000%. I don't want
Mm.
another like Jigsaw was fine, or no, Spiral was fine. Jigsaw was trash. But yeah,
Yeah, Jigsaw sucks.
Jigsaw is like my least favorite of any of the movies, period. But yeah, I'm excited to see where they go with this. I honestly have a good feeling it could do big numbers in the box office. So I don't know. I'm just betting on it because I'm a huge fan. And since you took a chance on Joker, I'm gonna take a chance on that one. That's really where I went with that one. I have other choices that probably would have been safer, but I want to throw that in there.
I am between two that I feel like are locks, like franchise locks, but like I think I'll go with the one that I'm a little bit more excited about. And I think I don't know. No. I'll just do it. I'm just gonna take give me Furiosa, the Mad Max prequel. The first one wasn't crazy big at the box office until like it word of mouth really hit, and now we've had 8 years of word of mouth. It
Yeah.
won a bunch of the technical Oscars. It's George Miller back. It looks like the same thing. Everyone loves Anya Taylor-Joy. What Chris Hemsworth is doing is fantastic. I wish the movie looked a little different because that's what's so cool about Fury Road is it's so stylistically different from the original franchise.
Yeah.
But Furiosa has been one we've been looking forward to for a long
Well,
time.
yeah,
So
Mad Max Fury Road was a pop culture like just smash. Like it's still in like the lexicon. People talk about it all the time. It's referenced all the time in different movies. I mean, even fucking Space Jam Legacy and stuff had his fucking Mad Max Fury Road moment. There's just so much in pop culture. So it'll definitely, I feel like it'll definitely hit those numbers for sure, just out of word of mouth from the first movie, as well as just all of those stars in it too. I feel like it has enough star power behind it that if they get it in front of the right eyes, I have a feeling it's a pretty safe bet too.
yeah, the first one made 154 mil, so I feel good about that. But yes, so you are up for your third pick, good sir, or fourth
Um,
pick. Sorry, because you
yeah,
have
fourth pick.
Deadpool 3, Inside Out 2, and Saw 11. I'm the
Yeah,
first person to not have a number in my title.
exactly. I'm gonna look around real quick to see if there's anything right at the top here. Not that
I
I
mean,
really want
Furiosa is
to
not an
pick.
original movie, but at least doesn't have a number in the title. Well,
That's true.
Joker, part deux. I just put Joker 2 because
Yeah, I
I'm
actually had
into
the full
those.
name written out in my in my notes. With number four,
For me, there's like my next one. Like I'm not even so fast. I know exactly what I'm
I'm
taking.
about to look real quick just to look at release dates because that's the only thing I'm like not that confident about of any of these release dates. Okay, that one's still safe enough. I'm gonna go with one that the first one came out a long time ago, but it might not be the one you're thinking. I'm going the one that I think would be more financially safe, and that's gonna be Gladiator 2. I
Oh,
feel
okay,
like
that's
it
on my upper
has
echelon.
I feel like it has like that audience that people are gonna be like, oh shit, I saw Gladiator in 1999. Let's see what this new Gladiator is about, and blah blah blah. Like it definitely has that because the first one was so iconic that I feel like it's the safest bet. There are other twos that I really wanted to go for before this one, but just for this game alone, I feel like Ridley Scott, he's going back. He's picking the one that was definitely one of his biggest successes. And I feel like it could be really good if they do it the right way. Like I don't know too much about the story going into it at all right now, but and I haven't seen the first Gladiator movie. Like I only watched it for the first time like within the last few years and can't really tell you a whole lot about it other than Russell Crowe was in it and he was pretty cool. That's about all I remember though.
I'm kind of a hater of the original. Like, I think it's really good. I just don't think it's like one of the greatest movies ever.
No.
But yeah, I also had this on my upper echelon. I actually had to defend it last night for it being on my list because, well, yeah, it's got that brand recognition. People love Gladiator,
Oh yeah.
and Paul Mescal is in it. The Ridley Scott thing is a good thing, but it's also like, well, Napoleon wasn't that big at the box
I
office or
didn't see that,
anything.
yeah.
But because of the brand recognition, I feel good about it. So it is one of the more fun picks because it's so like, ooh,
Yeah,
we don't
exactly.
know what's going to happen. So, but I think that was a really good pick.
Yeah, and it comes out in November, so I was like, it'll have enough money before the end of the year. It has enough time, I think.
And November makes me feel like it's going to be an awardsy type thing. So that makes me feel good as well. But yeah, for my next one, I already put it down. I knew immediately because I was deciding between Furiosa or Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Ah,
They got great special effects. I know that there's gonna be like a floor on like how like critically received that it is. It also looks great. They look like they put a lot of effort. I love like when the guy's making the speech on the beach and they got the log like forts and everything. This movie's gonna be rad, dope as fuck. Give it to me.
yeah. All right. Well, my number five, I'm gonna go with another two right now, and it's the same kind of thing as the last one, except they also have a little bit more with one of the biggest stars in the world right now joining the cast too. So I'm gonna go with Beetlejuice 2. They got Jenna Ortega in there. It's Tim Burton. They got Michael Keaton back. There's so much here that people are so excited about, including myself. I was part of like the TikTok algorithm that was getting like people like recording like the sets from off the set, like showing how cool the house looked and it looked like the original house. And there's so much hype behind it, and I'm very excited about it myself, being a big fan of the original. So Beetlejuice 2 was one that I was hoping you wouldn't grab before me just because I'm so excited about it.
I do have that on my list. It's on the lower end of my list, but I do
Yeah.
have it on my list. I like the first one. I'm definitely not as big of a fan of it as I should be. I need to rewatch it, but um, I'm very like neutral on it. But I did have it on my
Jenna
list.
Ortega's star power, I think, is going to be the biggest thing about it because
Oh
everyone just
yeah,
loves her so much right now. So if it's good in her star power, I think we'll get enough eyes on it.
no, I think you're exactly right about that. And that's such a like Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Like these are all very iconic factors in the movie, and so I think that's a good pick. I think that is a good pick. I am going to take for my next one because I only have two more movies in my like. I had a top nine that I was like, I feel really confident about these. But I am going to take the safer of these two movies because you just know it's going to make $100 million domestically. It's going to make $250 million domestically, and I'll take that 67% on Rotten Tomatoes. Give it to me. Despicable Me 4.
Yeah. Yeah, that
It's
was
safe.
definitely exactly. That was one that was on my list purely because financially that movie is definitely hitting that number. Like without question. I mean, and I honestly I'm one to blame. I see these movies too in theaters. I saw the second one in theaters. I saw the second Minions in theaters with my niece. I enjoy them for what they are. I go with my niece who is a fan of them too, because obviously she's 6 years old. She's the target audience.
Mhm.
So they're fun for what they are. They're nothing cinema, but they're exactly what they need to be. They're goofy and kids love it.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about it. I worked on it a little bit, and there's some funny little aspects about it that I think will keep it fresh, and hopefully it'll be better than that third one. But yeah, it's just the safe like it's gonna make 100 million picks. So you are up, good sir. We have our top fives down. So you have Deadpool 3, Inside Out 2, Saw 11, Gladiator 2, and Beetlejuice 2. I have Dune 2, Joker 2, Furiosa, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Despicable Me 4.
All right. Let me look at one more thing
Should get like
before.
extra points if you do an original movie and made
Dude,
$100 million.
exactly. It's
Like
so
it's like
hard looking
times
at this
two.
list because there's like there are some in here that I'm like, those look interesting, but I don't know. You know, I think I'm gonna go with another sequel, unfortunately. But
Oh, I am too.
it's one that's had success in the box office for the last two films, and it has a little animated guy in it. So I'm gonna go with Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Wow. Okay.
It made like the first one made like over 150 domestically. I can't remember what the second one did because unfortunately it right around COVID too, so you can't really blame that one. But I feel like these Sonic movies have enough behind them. Idris Elba is gonna be Knuckles in the next one too. You still have James Marsden. I don't know if that brings in people or not. I'm not sure, but
It
I think
doesn't.
these I think these movies are enough fun. He keeps getting in all these movies somehow, so I feel like someone likes James Marsden,
Mhm.
but the Sonic movies are just a blast to watch. Another thing like Despicable Me, kids love them, but honestly, there's also a huge fan base from people that loved playing the games and the old shows when they were kids. So, and it has like enough balance there where it's not too little kid almost, but you are gonna miss Jim Carrey in this third one, which could that play a factor in the box office? Maybe, because Jim is a box office, honestly, he's a box office draw in my opinion. So I don't know, but I think it's a safe bet.
No, I think it is. It's definitely at the box office. I don't know how well on Rotten Tomatoes it could be received. I feel like it
Yeah.
has a ceiling of like an 80. Like there's no world where it's like a 90 something. Uh, but
Maybe.
but it does come out on December 20th. And so it has 11 days to make $100 million, which
But it's the
that
holidays with children, so
that's fair. Then the opening weekend should be pretty decently big. Let me look up Sonic 2's opening weekend. Because yeah, well, both of them are affected because the first one was cut short because of COVID, and then the second one was during the
yeah.
COVID time. But that second movie did make opening weekend $72 million. So it'll make the other 28 on Christmas Day. So
Yeah.
or not or that week or whatever. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry about that not hitting your goal at all. But yeah, good pick. I'm excited for it. I'm not like crazy about it because like, what the fuck are they gonna do that's gonna make me like,
Yeah,
yeah?
exactly. Especially with two movies already going. It's like, what are they possibly gonna do with a third movie? It's really gonna make me excited.
Yeah, it's just gonna be more of the same. But my sixth pick, I'm going to take another children's movie, another fourth movie in a children's animated franchise following Despicable Me 4. I'm gonna take Kung Fu Panda 4. I worked on this. It doesn't look that great, but it's gonna make $100 million.
Yeah. So I literally was going back and forth. I was like, which one do I go to? Do I go Kung Fu Panda? Do I go Sonic the Hedgehog? Like I was literally going back and forth before I picked.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's definitely gonna hit that number. I I don't know if I even watched the third one. I can't
It's
remember if
good,
I
but it's
did or
not as good
not.
as the first two, and they're good. They're all good movies, like really good
Oh
movies.
yeah,
So
Jack Black
I
is just
believe.
perfect for Poe and everything, and the cast around him honestly was a blast to watch too. I mean, I loved watching the first one and even the second one a lot when I was younger, but
Second one's my favorite.
yeah, I don't think I've watched the third one, but I'm excited to check them out again. And like I said, with all these kids movies, my niece will probably want to go see them, and I'll probably see them with her. And if she likes them, I'm probably gonna like them too.
And Puss in Boots 2 was really great, and that's also like an action fantasy thing.
Yeah.
So maybe they will carry that over into here.
There's there have been some cool movies coming out animated outside of Disney at least because I mean we still have like Spider-Man. Unfortunately, I don't know if that new one's gonna come out next year. I don't think it is because it got
No,
delayed.
no.
So it's gonna be like, but with Spider-Verse coming out and kind of changing the world of animation so that Puss in Boots and different things like that exists now, it's more exciting to see when these new animated movies come out because they might take more chances than they might have a few years ago.
Yeah, it's a good landscape if you like take out Disney because Disney,
Yeah.
it's been very
I did not
frustrating
see
animated
Wish
lately.
whatsoever. Like I do not give a
It's
shit about
bad.
any of it. I've heard it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I didn't like it a lot. It made me very mad, but it's okay. There's no Disney movie this year. At least I don't think that there is. And if there is, I'm not taking it. So, but yeah, so we both have our six picks in. You have your seventh pick ready and lined up to go.
I'm gonna pick one that might not even, I don't think it's probably even gonna be on your list whatsoever, and it's not a sequel, but it is based off of an existing property. And it's a very big video game franchise that's being
Oh, I know what
adapted.
you're taking.
And
Yeah.
I'm going at number seven, going to be taking Borderlands. Borderlands is a movie that I've been excited that it's been being made for a while now because although I'm not like extremely familiar with the story, it did come out the first game when I was in, I think, high school, right around there. And it's very much like a sci-fi comedy almost in a way. Because it's like these group of ragtag people after the apocalypse that are trying to, they're all out for themselves still, but also teaming up to get to this one mission or whatever. Like I'm not exactly sure what the movie's gonna be, but it's very much like a sci-fi comedy, and the cast that they have for it just looks like a lot of fun. And Eli Roth, I had a lot of fun with Thanksgiving earlier this year, so I'm excited to see what he does with a bigger budget like this. And honestly, A House with a Clock in Its Walls, where he first worked with Jack Black, I like that movie too. So if he can nail that action comedy stuff, and he kind of had that comedy a little bit in there with the Clock in Its Walls movie, so I'm excited to see what it does. Will it hit that box office? I think it probably will. The Rotten Tomatoes is going to be the tougher one to hit, I think, but
Mhm.
because of it being an existing franchise and the video games being uberly successful, I think the box office is a safe bet.
No, I had it on my list. It's low on my list, but it was there. I will definitely be seeing it. I don't know anything about it whatsoever, but yeah, you've sold me. I'll be there.
I think you'll enjoy it, if anything, because I mean, it's gonna be goofy, but it also is like a really cool story. And if they can nail like the setting and everything and do like cool shit with that, it could be a lot of fun.
No, I'm excited. I'll definitely be there. My seventh pick, I am going to take one that like because now I just have like a huge section. I didn't even rank them. I just like I didn't have time. I literally just was like,
Oh yeah,
just throw
my
them all together.
I have nothing after this just about. Like I'm just going off the top of my head now.
I am going to take a franchise that is pretty reliable, both at the box office and critically. I'm going to move into horror, and I'm going to take A Quiet Place Day One, that has starring Lupita Nyong'o. It's about the the initial impact of the creatures or whatever the hell, and I just they're usually good. And this is a franchise like people know the name. It's got a great actress in it. Fuck it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you are up with your eighth pick.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't want to pick that.
Yeah, I don't know because the second one is good, but that was like really I was at the theater in 2021 when like Cruella and A Quiet Place 2 came out on the same
Yeah.
day, and it was like a huge deal. And A Quiet Place 2 was even bigger than Cruella, I think, and so it just felt like a safe thing. And I feel like I
Oh
usually
yeah.
stay away from horror, so I was like, oh, I'll do the horror one.
Yeah. Well, Quiet Place 2 has got, I mean, even just from the first two movies, the Quiet Place franchise, I think definitely has its audience so far. There are some people that I've heard like enjoy the second one more than the first one too. Like there are people out there that really love these movies. So I think it's a safe bet at that same time. But
Mhm.
holy shit, is this hard to pick another one right now? It's like I think I'm just gonna have to go. Hmm. Like there are ones that I want to pick that I just am more hopeful more than anything. You know what? Did Lee Winnell's Wolfman get delayed?
I did think I saw that somewhere. Let me look it up
Because it
for you
says
real quick.
2024 on here on Letterboxd still, but I don't think that's true. 'Cause I feel like I saw something recently that it got delayed, but
Is it one word Wolf Man?
yeah, well, no, it's two words, I think.
That's what I thought. Christopher Abbott. Yeah, it says
Yeah,
2024. Pre-production. It is expected October 25th, 2024. But it is like I love Lee Winnell, but it is
exactly.
pre-production. So
Yeah, you know what? Nah.
no, I might take it.
You know what? I'm just gonna pick something that I wasn't gonna pick at all, actually, but it's coming out in January too. Yeah, fuck it.
Night Swim.
I'm gonna pick Mean Girls.
Oh, I thought about that.
I don't know if it's the safest bet, but I'm happy that Tina Fey's back in the writer's chair and everything, and I'm excited to see. That's the thing that really got me interested, because if she wasn't involved, I was not really gonna care about it, but She's back. Tim Meadows is back. Jenna Fisher's gonna be in there too from The Office. Pam. So there's like
Mhm.
they're bringing in people that are recognizable. I think John Hamm's gonna be in it too. So like
Mhm.
they're bringing in people. So I'm excited to watch it. I'm hopeful it's good. I'm a huge fan of the first movie. Like it's one of my movies that I can watch like every year and I try to. Just because it's one of
Mhm.
those things like you were saying, like a bedtime movie you can just turn on. That's one of those movies for me where I can just laugh at it and just pick it up wherever if it's on TV. Like I love the original, so I'm excited to see this new one. Will it hit that fucking Rotten Tomatoes? That's the one thing I'm nervous about that one too, because I know the Rotten Tomatoes, I don't even know if it's high on the first one, but it's people love it outside of Rotten
I love
Tomatoes.
it. I
Like,
think it's one of the great studio comedies of the 2000s.
oh yeah, like I think it came out in 2003 or 2004, like same year Shrek 2 came out. Because I always see a meme where it's like this year was like one of the best years of cinema, and it's
Mhm.
true because like all those movies are just great. But I'm hopeful that this one's good. The trailers aren't really selling me on it too hard, but Tina Fey's involved, man. I got my fingers crossed.
Yeah, you got a lot of the, avoiding being outward about it being a musical thing that happened with Wonka and everything else. So, yeah, it does make me nervous for that, but I'll definitely be there. And I think it's got a wide open path. I mean, what else are people going to watch in January? Night Swim?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
But okay, I think that's a good pick. Earlier, you took a movie that comes out on December 20th. I am going to take the other movie that comes out on December 20th. I mean, I don't like this movie, mind you, okay? But the original one, or not the original, but the one that this is a prequel to sucks, but it was nominated for an Oscar. And this one, at least it's a new story. It's mirroring The Godfather Part 2, and it's a great director, Barry Jenkins. So I have to believe that Mufasa will do well at the box office. It did. The first one did,
it's
and this
true.
one will have a good Rotten Tomatoes score.
It's true.
So
I supported the box office, so I can't even complain. I
I
saw
just
it
want
out of pure
to
curiosity.
like that day. I just want both of us to just be like my movie, my because Sonic is the same thing. But I gotta believe in my Disney big stupid franchise thing. Just feel safe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is we are now eight movies deep. We have two left each, and it's
Yeah.
getting slim. I'll tell you that much.
I
I'm
can't pick
not
the new
feeling great.
Roadhouse because it's a prime original.
Oh, that's the one thing that I was really worried about with this list.
Yeah, I don't know what's yeah, it's the only thing that scares me. It's like some of these things could go on streaming and then we're fucked.
Yeah, but I'm actually let me research something real quick while you're taking your turn.
So yeah, I see I like there are things on here that I want to pick so badly, but I just can't for the sake of the contest. Like the Fede Alvarez Alien movie.
Oh,
Fede Al
Romulus, that's on my list.
yeah, like I want to pick it, but I just don't. It's not a safe bet because like the Alien movies just get tore up all the time by the fucking critics, especially. Like they don't like, especially a lot of the sequels. It seems like aren't big fans of them.
Mhm.
And Fede Alvarez, like Don't Breathe was really successful, like critically, people liked it, but like his other shit, like The Girl in the Spider's Web or whatever, people did not really like that one. Evil Dead
Mhm.
movie, I think the Evil Dead remake gets a lot more fan acclaim than it does critically. I'm not sure, but
Mhm.
so he's not the safest bet. But I think right now,
Yeah, it's not a bad pick at all. It's got the brand recognition. It's on my list. I'll be honest about that.
yeah,
It's like
I
mid
think
on my list.
I think if I'm gonna pick any of them, fuck it, I'm gonna pick Twisters, I guess.
Oh, wait, it's called Twisters.
It's called Twisters,
Okay,
did
well,
not
I
know
know
that
there's
till
a lot
just
of high
now.
young people in it, and I heard like people
Yeah,
talking about
exactly.
it.
Glenn Powell, Anthony Ramos, like all those people. And I feel like it's gonna bring out those people who are like, oh yeah, another Twister movie. And it's gonna bring enough like brand recognition, curiosity numbers that yeah, a lot of these ones that I'm picking now, I'm like, it's not gonna hit the Rotten Tomatoes score, but it might hit that box office. So maybe I'll get like 20 points out of these or something. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna go with Twisters. I like the first Twister movie.
We're
My
like
mom
so sad. We're like, I guess I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, exactly. Like there are other movies in here that I'm way more excited to watch this year, but it doesn't work
Mhm.
for this game. Like one that I really want to pick that I had on my list, Terrifier 3. It won't hit $100 million, but I really want to fucking see it and I'm excited about it.
Yeah. And the Rotten Tomatoes score, I'm sure, won't be great.
No, I don't even know what the
But
second one got. I know it definitely did better than the first one, but that's not saying a whole lot because I don't even like the first one that much.
gotcha. All right. Well, um, I am up. I'm between like four movies that I want to pick, but I'm like afraid. I'm
You're
so
picking Madam
afraid.
Web, aren't you?
I've Madam Web and Craven on my list. I am
I
not.
can't
I can
pick either of
confidently
them.
say I will not take either at this
Yeah.
point. But I will take a movie that I think because right now there's like four that I'm like, oh, these will make 100 million, but will they be any good? No. So I think I'm just gonna take the one that I feel the most confident about at the box office. And I'll do it just because you brought it up earlier, and I'm like, you know what, like Ballerina. People love John Wick.
Yeah.
They love that. I was so fucking mad that you had John Wick 4 and it like was like 94 at the very bottom of your
Yeah.
list.
Did
So
not
I think
expect it to be the gigantic behemoth that it became.
yeah, so because you said that earlier when you were like it's like a sequel to like a movie that came out last year. What did you say? You said that for Saw X. And I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, you're going to fuck me in the ass again with John Wick."
I
Like
thought about it, but I was like, I don't know enough about that movie to really pick it yet.
yeah, I've worked on it a little bit, so I know a little bit of what we got, and John Wick's coming back for it, so
I mean, Ana de Armas, I mean, although people didn't love her in that last movie, she did. She still has enough fans where I feel like she has enough people that,
Are you talking about Blonde?
of course, I'm talking about Blonde.
I love
You're
Blonde.
the only one that loved Blonde.
I am.
But
I
she
am.
she's a good actress for what it is, and I feel like she has enough, even from like Knives Out and different things, where people enjoy her, and of course, still having Keanu Reeves and brand recognition is definitely going to bring people in too.
Yeah, I'm excited. And they think she's hot. People think she's really, really hot all the time.
Oh
So
yeah.
the guys won't be like "Meh, bleh, her." They'll be like, "Oh, la la." I have to keep my pants on. So yep, I'm happy with that. I'll take it. You're up.
Yeah, this is going to be my last pick of the game.
But yeah, it is. So by the way, I have now picked three movies without a number in the title. You have picked also three movies because Borderlands, Mean Girls, and Twisters do not have a number in
Yep.
the title, but they are all adaptations of something. I'd say the most original movie you have there is Borderlands, and then for me, it's
And I think
probably
it will be the most original
Borderlands is more original than anything I have on my list. I have a bunch of
because
prequels and spin-offs.
my number 10 is one that comes out toward the end of the year, but I feel like it'll still have enough time to do it. And that is Wicked Part 1.
Oh, that's on my list.
Yep, that is my number 10. It comes out November 27th, so it has a month to get the job done. And with the movie being the fucking Broadway hit that it is, like quite literally, they do it like all of the time up here in Lansing, in Michigan. They
Mhm.
do Wicked like every year, and the tickets are fucking well over $100, and they sell out immediately all the time because
Mhm.
it's just such a popular musical. People love it so much. I've wanted to see it for so many years and just can never get my hands on tickets whenever they go on sale.
Mhm.
But so I'm excited for the movie to finally come out, so I'll have my chance to finally see it. But I feel like it has enough audience. I mean, of course, it has like Ariana Grande, and doesn't it have like, is it Cynthia Erivo that's playing?
That's correct.
Yeah, so it has both of them in it. It's gonna probably have other people that I'm not aware of at the moment yet, but and especially being a Wizard of Oz like spin-off story and everything and the musical aspect, like I feel like it's gonna bring in people, especially around that holiday season, and it'll definitely hit that box office. But again, the Rotten Tomatoes, musicals, John Chu, honestly, he gets the box office, I guess, because didn't he do Crazy Rich Asians too? Isn't that his big claim to fame?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that movie was tremendous at the box office. So if he can repeat that in any way, it'd probably be pretty great. But yeah, I think off of brand alone, I think it's a good one. But yeah, I think he also did Now You See Me Too, which is unfortunate.
Oh, yeah, the one with Radcliffe.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, not a bad pick at all. I actually like that a lot more than like a few of your previous picks. So like that
Well,
was a
yeah, I
clutch
was
last
gonna
pick
pick it
there.
earlier, but I was like, oh shit, is that a December release? And I could not remember if it was or not. So I went and looked at it real quick.
Yeah, I was a little nervous just because I was like, well, the color purple's making good money, but I don't know. I was just nervous it just seems like it leans more female, and
True.
I don't know if it's a thing that kids are gonna like because like it's kind of scary, or it should be right. With the Wicked Witch is scary, right?
A little bit. She definitely, I mean, the one in the fucking old card, I mean, the old 50s movie freaked me out as a kid.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll read off the rest of the movies I have on my like little like nominations kind of list, I guess, and then I'll finish off with the one that I picked. Which, by the way, I'm taking a risk on my last one. I'm picking an original movie, the only truly original movie on this list. But yeah, so here are some other ones that I am not taking. Mickey 17. I
I
don't
wanted
know
to
if
take
Bong Joon
that.
Ho will get the box office legs that he needs. You know?
Exactly. And yeah, and the only face that I recognized so far, I mean, was just, oh, Mark Ruffalo's in it. I didn't know that. Oh,
Yeah, it's
Stephen Yeun, Tony
Pattinson.
Collette. I only knew Pattinson was in it because I haven't seen any of the other stuff about it.
Yeah, so that one I was considering it because it's Bong Joon Ho, and maybe with the name, he's got a big name now. Argyle, I thought looked a little too cheesy. Madam Web and Craven, I'm just like
No, yeah, I didn't want to pick those.
um two ones that I think will be bad that like will make $100 million are Ghostbusters Frozen Empire and Godzilla X Kong. So I
Yeah,
didn't take either of those.
Godzilla, I think, will hit the number, but not the Rotten Tomatoes. That's why I didn't go for it either. I wanted to pick Argyle just because I'm curious about it, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it'll hit, especially Rotten Tomatoes score, just because it seems like even more outrageous than any of the Kingsman stuff beforehand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm not. I just. And then Alien Romulus, like he said, like we just don't know enough about it yet. Garfield is a movie that I avoided just because it's got a lot of bad press around it.
Yeah.
Oh, another one I'm not doing is Bad Boys 4. I am wrong for not doing this. It made $200 million, that first one. And this
Yeah.
one is now coming out in June.
Yeah, I almost
So
went Bad Boys 4, but I was like, I don't know. I don't know if people really love Will Smith as much anymore.
Oh, after the slap, yeah, that's another reason I stayed away. I had Trap. That's the M Night movie that comes out in September. I didn't pick it because last year Knock at the Cabin only made like 33 million. I was pissed.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
bullshit. It was better than that.
but the movie I am gonna go with a prime Marvel release date. Like this is coming out the first weekend in May. And he's a Grammy nominated fucking person now. Give me Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt and The Fall Guy starting off the summer right. I just feel like with a big action comedy, the ladies want to go see. Everyone loves Ryan. I know Ryan Gosling is historically not a box office guy, but now with Barbie under his under his wing, we know he can do comedy. The action will get the guys in there. Emily Blunt is super hot, and she's also off of Oppenheimer as well. So I just feel like that movie has a lot of momentum and a lot of good press.
Yeah,
And I just
David,
want to pick an original.
they got David Leitch in the director's chair who did like Deadpool 2 and he did Bullet Train. Like he does a lot of fun action comedy stuff. And this one definitely feels like it fits that realm for sure. And summer right away, I feel like that's a perfect prime spot for that too. So I definitely can see that one too. It was definitely on my list a little bit too. Some other ones I just want to talk about a little bit. If I thought that one was really interesting, that
I
animated
thought
one for
about
John
it.
Krasinski. I was like, that could be fun.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Venom 3 for what it is, I feel like I don't know Rotten Tomatoes wise, but box office will probably hit it just because Venom and Tom Hardy and everything, people like a lot of that shit.
Fair.
I don't know how good Venom 2 did, but I know Venom 1 did pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's just got the same Sony problem that Madam Web and Craven had for me.
I don't know if this animated Lord of the Rings movie is going to come out in theaters because I hadn't heard of it until recently.
Yeah,
But I
but I don't know a lot about it, so I stayed away.
exactly, I stayed away from it just because I didn't know where it was going to release or anything. But like, I'm very interested in it. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, there are movies like I really wanted to pick Bad Boys 4, and I mean, there's even stuff coming out this year too with like Terrifier 3, like I talked about. Like there are movies that I'm very excited about that I did not put on
Mm-hmm.
this list purely for this game, but yeah, I think both of our lists are pretty damn solid. It's going to be interesting to see how the year goes out, but I'm feeling pretty good about my list.
Just to recap, Steve has Deadpool 2, or Deadpool 3, Inside Out 2, Saw 11, Gladiator 2, Beetlejuice 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Borderlands, Mean Girls, Twisters, and Wicked Part 1. Adam has Dune 2, Joker 2, Furiosa, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Despicable Me 4, Kung Fu Panda 4, Quiet Place Day 1, Mufasa, Ballerina, and The Fall Guy. We will be updating you guys throughout the year as we review these movies. We are actually celebrating our 25th episode today.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been
Very
awesome, and
exciting.
it's awesome. This has gone on long enough that we were able to finish last year's game. Here's to another great year of ass. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and watching us talk about movies for another year. We love them, and we're gonna keep doing it. Steve, do you have any final thoughts before we check out here today?
Nah, just thank you so much for listening to us. Thank you for all the support. It's just so great. Like, unfortunately, I've fallen behind on some of my regular videos, but this is the thing I've really been putting all my energy into just because I love chatting with you about movies so much too. And I just have so much fun doing it. So thank you so much for just going back and forth with me all the time. It's a great time.
No problem, and thank you as well. I do want a prediction. It's Saturday when we're recording this. The Lions play the Cowboys tonight. What's the final score?
Oh damn. It's gonna be the Lions fighting against that tough defense. That's gonna be the hardest part for them, but I think they could pull it out. I think it's gonna be a tight one, but
It's at 8:15, and the Dallas is favored by -5.5.
yeah, I think honestly, it might even be a lower scoring. Like it could be like a 24-21 situation, but I'm giving the edge to the Lions still just because they're my guys and Dallas isn't looking as prime as they were a few weeks ago either. So it's gonna take their offense beating our defense more than anything too.
All right. Well, I'll be rooting for the Lions, obviously, as I am a Giants fan. So, oh, by the way, congratulations on being a playoff bound team. It must be nice.
Yeah, I mean, you were in. It's so funny because I thought we were gonna be me and you at the end there for a while, just because your
Mm,
record was so fucking prime throughout the whole year. What, two losses?
12-2.
Yeah, and I had four, I think, or four or five. So
Mm.
yeah, I'm hopeful I can pull this one out, but I'm excited to even be in the championship game because I was not expecting to a few weeks ago. I mean, at the beginning of the year, even though it projected me at third, I was like, this team I'm just not confident in, especially with my quarterback situation. My quarterback
Mm.
situation has been a mess all year, but CJ Stroud was the little sneak pick that I got.
Yeah, well, you've done a really great job, especially with CJ Stroud showing out, and then don't you have? No, you don't have Puka. He has Puka Nakua.
Yeah, he
You
does.
you've got like Jamar Chase. Oh, Christian McCaffrey. That's why you're where you are.
Christian
Christian
McCaffrey is
McCaffrey's an animal.
he's finally paying off after all of these years of injuries after injury. The points are
Mm.
finally coming in. But yeah, and actually, next time, if we get off of that real quick, next episode, I really want to do like our top 10 of 2023 because I,
Oh
I haven't done
yes.
a video myself. And I feel like if we get that done pretty soon here, we can get it out to the world. And I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I need to do another round robin where I take all the 5-star movies and put them together. I still haven't seen like Anyone But You or Migration,
Dude, I'm
but
still
let's
behind
be
on some of the
honest.
big ones like past lives and things like that. Like I want to get some of
Oh
those in
yeah.
before the end of the year before I do that ranking. So I have a lot to do still, but hopefully in the next couple weeks we can get that in for our audience.
Awesome. Cool. Well, movies are great. We love movies so much. They're all around us. Check out my
Mine are
YouTube
over there.
videos. They're hard reviews. I've actually been doing very well recently. Like I used to be like hype about like, oh wow, that's awesome. That's like one of the few ones that I didn't get this year because it wasn't on sale anywhere.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
or no
fun.
major sale or anything. But yeah, hard reviews. I'm usually like hovering around like 30 views, and I'm like the boys in the boat got like 100, and I'm like, no, there
Saw
weren't
that.
100 people who saw that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I got to get back into my videos a little bit here too. I've fallen behind. I have some that are just recorded on my camera that I never even pulled off the memory card. So I
Mhm.
think my next video, if I don't know what I'll do at this point, I might do like a bottom 10 too, just out of for fun.
Oh, I will too. Yes. I just finished my bottom 10 list yesterday, actually. But
But all that for today. We will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched it till this part, you're the best and you know it.
thank you guys so much. Go watch the
Yeah.
movie.